All right. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you. Welcome aboard. It's been about a month and a half now, I think. And you were on the last episode, and now you are here again. As you can see under your picture, this was totally planned and not last minute.
Yeah. We talked about this for weeks. And then yesterday, you shoot me the first message saying it's actually happening. So, yeah.
Yeah. So just for full clarification for everybody here, Troy was going to be on today's episode, and we were going to do a more thorough, in-depth look at Six Invitational and go through teams and rankings and all that jazz. As a lot of you may know, Troy's a little busy now that he's competing at SI. And his schedule, when we thought it aligned, it actually didn't align. So at the last minute, we had to kind of make a decision as to what we wanted to do. And Fabian was gracious enough to step in to co-host the show. For those that haven't followed along, after Troy retired, our last episode being that retirement home episode, Troy and I said that we were going to move the podcast to noon every single Tuesday. And then I think it was like a day and a half after we determined that, the NA League came out and said that they were now doing shows on Tuesday as well. Kind of hard for me to do both at the same time. And then obviously Troy told me in advance that he was going to be going back to compete at SI. So no, the show is not dead. I promise you that we're going to be doing more episodes. It just came down to scheduling, and that was it. So now that we have you back, by the way, it's been about 6 weeks or so since the last episode that you were on. And of course, you had just announced that you had been benched by Vitality. What have you been up to since then?
Nothing. I can't do anything. I'm stuck to contract, so I have to sit here and be ready in case they need me. So basically, I'm sitting at home doing nothing, talking to your mom, and that's about it.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you're finding ways to fill time.
Yeah.
And I hope that she's providing. I hope that she's providing for as good a conversation as you deserve.
Oh yeah. We're having good times. She's more entertaining than you are. Then again, that's not very difficult.
Cool. As for Team Vitality, by the way, I'm trying to pull up their exact stats for this season. Where are they?
I think they did 3 points better than we did the last stage. I honestly don't really look too much into it.
Yeah, have you been following Rainbow Six at all since you've been?
Mental health has put me in a position where I don't feel it's healthy for me to do so. It's better that I stay away from it for now, and then if things change for my sake, then we'll see what happens then. But until then, I'll probably stay away from it. It just mentally, I shouldn't do it. Feels really bad when I see it.
I imagine for somebody who goes from competing as frequently as you did at the top level, going from like winning everything, always being in competition to win everything, and then being somewhat unjustly benched. That
it's not unjustly. It's different views on different things from staff and players, but the way that it was handled by the organization, I feel is pretty wrong, and the way that I've been treated after it has been pretty wrong, and therefore it's very rough. Because I feel like I should have been given a chance to move somewhere else, and I wasn't really given a chance.
I feel that. I mean, I can't empathize. I can't sympathize with it or empathize with it. I can't understand it because I've never been there, but I can imagine how frustrating that would be.
Yeah, I mean, there are multiple things, obviously, that we can't talk about, but I feel like they should have been able to make a deal. There were interested parties, but there wasn't a done deal at the end of the transfer window, and therefore I'm stuck where I am. I feel like there should have been ways to make it happen, though, but I guess that's how business works, and in the end, my career has had to pay for it, because now I haven't played an official match since December. I haven't practiced with an actual 5 stack that I know that I'm going to play with as an official team. I haven't played with that since 1 week in December, and then before that it was November, obviously. So it's like I haven't played properly since November, and obviously that decision to not sell me is going to kill my career, for the simple reason that who's going to pick up a player that haven't played a single practice in 6 months? Nobody is, and they're not going to pay money for it. I mean, you can pick up free agents that are playing in Challenge League or just out of Challenge League. They're sure they don't have the same experience or same social media reach, but getting it for free is sometimes better for them, and therefore my career probably is done. Done, diddly done.
I think the lesson here, that operating under capitalistic monetary systems will cripple people's spirits and dreams, and that in a perfect world we could all unite together, overthrow the bourgeoisie, and allow people to do what they want without fear of having enough money to do it.
I mean,
Thank
seeing
you,
as I live
comrade.
in
I appreciate
Sweden,
that.
I'm a communist, basically, or at least in American standards, I'm a communist. Because I believe in free healthcare and not having guns in every hand, and a safety net, social safety net.
Dizzle was in the chat saying that APAC might buy you out. As somebody who has a long history of always praising APAC, what would it be like to go play for that region?
No, that's not going to happen. It's just no.
Would you play with Fnatic? Mag is in the chat saying that you can go play with him.
If I wanted to play in the Sunday League, I would play for a Nordic League team, which I put on the same level as APAC. Actually, that's a bit too far. That's a bit too rude to the Nordic League. They're a bit ahead.
That was coming. I like how when you could call this like the death throes of your career. You're given a lifeline by APAC, and even then you still just piss on them.
I'm not interested in moving to APAC
it's just
for personal reasons, and
as consistent in game as you are out. I see with your opinions here.
Yeah, no, it's I don't have a problem with the region of APAC. I think they are the region. If we're on a serious note, the region has developed the most the last few years. But I'm not interested in moving there. It's just too far away for me. I'm too old for that shit.
I mean, remind me what team beat you at SI last year?
NIP, and after that we were mentally broken, so I don't count any games after that.
Okay, so you losing to Fnatic.
I can't remember if it was before or after, to be honest.
Of course.
I just remember losing to NIP.
Of course. Sure. So, and the funny part is that Dizzle just said that, by the way, they beat you before NIP. NIP technically knocked you out, which I thought was very poetic because obviously the whole Black Dragons thing back in Sao Paulo season 6. But Fnatic beat you before that. That's what put you down in the lower bracket.
Yeah, I don't.
And I say lower bracket because I don't want to say the word losers because that's mean.
The time that I beat Fnatic, I actually won an event. The time that Fnatic beat me, they didn't. So I see that as the only thing that really matters.
I mean, you get to join the fabled club with EG of losing to Fnatic.
Yeah, at least we didn't lose against them with the sub. So
that's right. You actually 14-0'd them.
Oh, did we? I can't remember. I know that this had got one kill the entire game, and it was the last round. In a 1 versus 5, he managed to kill me. And he'd been saying the entire game that his only, like before that game when we were talking and stuff like that, he said the only thing he wanted to do was kill me in the game. And the last round, he got his first kill of the game in a 1 versus 5. He headshots me behind Nick. And Nick was playing Blitz, and he refused to flash him because it was Distel, and he said it would be unfair. So I died because Nick didn't flash him.
It was 12-0, by the way. I need to clarify. This is one of the most irritating aspects of recalling and recounting history involving Rainbow Six is that our format has changed so much. It's not 14-0s anymore. It's 12-0, the old format. And then before then, back when you beat EG, it was like 1st to 5. And then it was 6, and now it's just like, oh my god, let's just keep with the format here. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You did not kill Dizzle once that match. Dizzle killed you once that match, which means he is superior to you, even if you destroyed his team 12-0. Almost at 14-0.
I mean, I can give him that. I think I had the best stats of all players that event, so I'll take it.
Don't worry, both you and Dizzle and all of Dizzle's entire team, you can reunite to watch SI from the couch. So, because neither of you are going. How weird is it, by the way, that we were a week away from SI not having you, Pengu, any of Fnatic, no Troy? Like, talk about a changing of the guard at the top level, all in the span of a year.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when it comes to the topic because I think it's people getting tired of playing so much under such a long time. I mean, you don't have breaks unless you get benched. You don't have breaks. You're playing 6 days a week minimum in practice, and that 7th day you can't bother going out, so you're playing that day as well. And then it is just like your life just is all Rainbow Six, and it's only playing. You wake up for practice, and then because you have a fucked up sleeping schedule, and practices always ends at like 11 or 12 at night, you don't have a social life. So everything just revolves around Siege.
Chat's very confused, by the way, with what I said. Troy wasn't going to be at SI because he retired. He unretired to compete for SI. This is not a secret, chat.
What an ego.
I don't think I misspoke here. I said we were almost a week ago, we were almost looking at an SI without Troy and everybody else. And Troy decided to come out of retirement to help the team, so Troy is now playing.
I think he only did it to beat me in amount of trophies. That has to be it.
Yeah.
There's no other motivation behind it.
Thank you, by the way, the people who are saying, he said almost. Almost is the key here. Also, there's no mic delay on my side, so if you're saying that there's a mic delay, then it's going to be probably on your side, because everything looks good for me, and everything looks good for Fabian as well. This SI is going to be an interesting one. Honest question, do you think you're going to watch it?
Again, as it comes back to what I said earlier, with like feeling extremely bad mentally from the way that I am in my current state, I don't think it would be a good idea for me to watch it. And it has nothing to do about like, oh, someone else is going to win it or something like that. It's just my mental state isn't good. So it's probably best for me to avoid it. But I'll probably tune in every now and then, watch some games here and there.
I mean, I heard that there might be some mediocre casting that you might want to tune in for.
Mediocre? So you're casting the event?
That was the joke.
I'll probably just sit in a voice call with your mom.
Tremendous.
Yep.
I don't even know if she'll watch it. I'll be honest. Since you stopped playing, and since like Troy has stopped playing, and her interest in watching it has dramatically declined. There's a couple players that she used to watch, like specifically for. I hate to break it to you, you weren't the only one. And now pretty much all of them are gone. I don't think there's a single, like, she really liked watching like Easily's team, Slash's team, your team, obviously, Pengu's team. She really likes Hot and Cold, and Troy. And Goddess. She was a big fan of Goddess. And now all of those players, except for Hot and Cold, are out. So
moves fast.
It does. It's crazy. And then everybody panicked because we casted Valorant and thought that we were leaving as well. So
yeah, you'll get there too. Don't worry about it.
I mean,
I might come back. You know, never know. Someone might just want to splash money and give me a second chance at life. Highly doubtful, but you never know.
I think that, I talked about this yesterday. I did a stream and I said that there will eventually come a time where Kix and I are no longer casting Rainbow Six. That could be in 70 years' time when we die. That could be the game dying. But at some point in my life, I will no longer be commentating Rainbow Six. I just don't know how soon that will be. There are no plans now to make it soon. So I just want to reassure everybody here. A lot of people have been talking about SSG. I know in the previous episode, you said that you did not want to leave Europe, let alone Sweden. If SSG backed up a dump truck full of money in front of your house and said, come move to the sunny beaches of Las Vegas. By the way, beaches? I don't know if you're familiar with Vegas. There's 0 beaches in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I was just going to say there's sand all around it, and then it's like the ocean is...
It's like a never-ending beach, no ocean.
Yeah.
It's the worst part of the beach. It's the sand that's nitty and gritty and gets in everything, and there's no cool, refreshing water. If SSG backed up a dump truck full of money in front of your house, now that it's been 5.5, 6 weeks since we last spoke, are you any way, shape, or form more inclined to humor that offer and possibly move to Vegas?
It's not. I mean, in the end, for me, it's not all about the money. I mean, it's nice to get paid well, right? But I don't really care too much for the money. I tax so much in this country anyways that I barely get any. I don't know if that's a fun topic, but it's not so much about that. It's more about being able to play and being able to do what I want. If that would be going to NA, I highly doubt I would go to NA. It's just, it's far away from everything, you know? It's...
I mean, when you say America is far away from everything, a lot of Americans would tell you that America is everything.
Yeah, but
And
not
that,
for the people that aren't from there. And I'll be honest with you, I don't really like the country. So yeah, I kind of don't want to be there.
I will tell you this as a Canadian, we're on very similar pages.
Yeah, just the values of the people in that country don't really align with mine. So
Yeah,
no, I don't think I would like to live in the US. And I don't think it really matters how much money they put in front of me. It would be, again, it would have to be one of those deals that it's too good to say no.
yeah. Like I mean, I came obviously from Poland for 3 years, right? Like, I mean, between the countries, like Poland has a lot of really cool things about it, and I will tell you this: being in Europe was incredible. I firmly believe that Europe is a superior continent to North America through and through for a wide variety of reasons. The values of people align much closer with mine. The thing about America that I like is it's a gorgeous country. It is insane when you look at like the geographic diversity of America. You know, they've got Alaska, they've got Hawaii, but then it's like go down to like Florida and look at like the down there, and then go up to the northeast and look at all those areas, the Adirondack Mountains. And then you've got Appalachia, and then you go down and you look at like the beaches in California, but then you go up to like Seattle and it's totally different in the Pacific Northwest. And then you've got like the Midwest right in the middle. And then you've got different parts of Texas, which are all entirely different depending on how close you get to the border. It's insane how beautiful America is. It's just, I'm with you on that. As much as you and I might differ politically, I imagine we probably have more in common than we do with most middle of the road Americans. So in that regard, I fully understand what you're saying.
It's a nice country to live in if you have the money, but if you don't, you're in a shitty position. And
healthcare, you enjoy. You want to go bankrupt because you get sick accidentally.
It's like you put yourself in debt just to get the decent degree, and then imagine you get cancer the last year of that degree, and you go to the hospital, and literally you're set your entire life to be in debt. Yeah. And it's just that sort of stuff that I don't like, and it's those things that don't align with mine. Yeah. It's just, I don't know, maybe the older I get, the more stupid I become in terms of stuff like that, where I feel it's more important for me to be surrounded by, I don't know, the sort of stuff that I believe in, the sort of society I believe in. But maybe that's me being stupid. I could make money, sure. I mean, they make much more there than they do here, especially with tax. But highly unlikely.
No state tax in Vegas, by the way.
Yeah, dude. Whew. I did my taxes when I got my tax papers on the Invitationals 2019. When no, it's not fun.
No, I have to do taxes next month, and I'm looking at just a little. I think it'll be just a little over a third of the money I made last year. But I mean, my thoughts on taxes are pretty well known. I don't want to say I enjoy paying them, but I like that they help people. So I know that we don't have the same. We don't always have the same opinions on that. But that's okay.
On my cut from G2, like the prize pool when we won with G2, I received less than. No, let's see. I have to Google that. What that
you pay like? Don't you pay like
less than 1/3? Less than
it's
1/3.
Like 53% tax or something like that on like a.
That's
because your SI winnings are considered like lottery or something like that. You were telling me about it, right?
I got less than 1/3 out of the money that I made from that event onto my bank account.
Yeah. Yeah. So Hyperino said that contractors / self-employed.
We weren't contractors. That's the problem.
I'm technically self-employed / a small business. So I mean, like I can write stuff off, right? Like if I buy a new computer, then I get a portion of it back because it's considered a business expense. I don't go as far as other people where it's like, I know people that write off their cell phone bills. They write off their rent because they consider it their office. They write off like or at least like a portion of all the food they buy just for regular groceries because it's considered like a business meal because they're eating it at work. I don't go that far because of the way I see it is I make pretty good money and I don't want to be adding to any kind of load on government services. I would much rather help it than hurt it. And
I understand.
You know, if not writing off rent or my phone, if writing it off would ultimately save me like $200-300 a year, to me, morally, that's not worth it. Even if it's a small amount, it's to me, it's a like a point of morals. So, but I remember you and Pengu were talking about how much money you had to give back for winnings and stuff like that, and it is a shockingly high number.
Yeah, as I said, I made less than 1/3 of the money that I made from the Invitational win onto my own account after all taxes had been deducted. So it sucks with taxes, obviously, but it is what it is, and I'd rather live in a country where I don't have to worry about people getting sick in my family and all that stuff. And I guess that has become more important to me, and surrounding myself with the stuff that I believe in rather than just making plain out cash pushing into my pockets.
We made a huge mistake talking about this in the first 20 minutes of the show because the average viewer is only going to watch the first 10 to 15 minutes. And you know that right now Twitch chat is being very civilized. But I can tell you right now that the YouTube comments are going to overwhelmingly focus on this topic and only this topic because they're not going to make it in past. So it's like...
I mean, it's Commissar Parker and Commissar Fabian trying to politically correct...
Americans.
The opinion of the people. Yeah.
Have you been playing Hearts of Iron or Age of Empires or Rome Total War and all that stuff? You're a big RTS guy. You been playing any of those things?
Lately, I've been into Steel Division. It's called, which is basically a Eastern Front World War II simulator, and it's really given me the idea. Yeah, so it's Russia versus Soviet versus Germany, and I can tell you that one thing that's taught me is that it's brutal. War is brutal. You just throw men at the front, and then you're in your
mid-20s and you're playing a video game. You are a teacher, and that's what taught you that war is brutal.
No, but in a different way.
Weren't you just making fun of America? How bad is Sweden's education system that you make it you make it to a quarter of 100 years old, and you just obviously it's just dawned on you that war is bad?
No, but it's just the amount of zero fucks you have to give as a commander, you know? Because when you play war games and stuff like that, you're always the guy in the front and you have so much impact. But in a war game where like that, it's just individual units have no impact. You're just throwing men at the front and hoping something kills something, and everything else just dies. There's a machine gun nest, and that machine gun nest just sits there and shoots, and people just wave after wave after wave. It just dies. Everyone just dies. And it's like, there's no point in it. But it's obviously when you play video games in a different way, like when you play those where you don't have that much of a view on it, you have so much impact, right? Like individually in a shooter game, you have impact. Individuals in that game, they have no impact. The only thing they're good for is taking bullets.
That's like, I was playing when quarantine first started, or around that time, Pikmin 3 got re-released, came out for the Nintendo Switch, and I was spending time with my mom and my dogs and playing like little cutesy, heartwarming, fun games for her to watch. And I always felt guilty when I would do certain missions and one of the Pikmin would die, because to me, all soldiers are important. And even losing one for the greater good, not a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Had no choice but to restart. Can't have any casualties.
That's how it should be. Take care of each other. Communism. Commissar Parker, you're doing a good job.
I was going to say, you're like, yeah, we're it's on the Eastern Front, you know, Soviet Union versus Germany. And I was like, remind me, who won? Was it the commies? The commies won? Thanks for...
No, America won the war. America did everything.
Have you ever seen that graph, by the way? And this is, I promise our American fans here that I'm not trying to deliberately dump on your country, but have you seen that one thing where it was like, it's not even Americans, it was like a global poll or something like that, where it said who, I think it was actually the French, I think it was in France, if I remember correctly, it was, they asked French citizens like 2 or 3 years after World War II, they said, who won the war? And it was like an overwhelming majority said the Soviet Union is the reason why the Allies won the war. And then 30 years later, they asked the same question, who is which country is it? And it was like pretty even between America and the Soviet Union. And then they asked like 5 years ago, and it was like America was ahead by a mile.
Yeah, but that's what the TVs and series do here, you know? We're trying our best to make people communist. They're trying to best to make people loving America.
Yeah. The thing is like, obviously we can spend hours talking about World War II, but I mean, if you don't think that the Soviet Union played a pivotal role in the defeat of the Nazis and the Axis, then I mean, I'd strongly recommend you go back and actually do some proper reading on history and not whatever you read. I said the phrase "do your research" yesterday, and then I realized how stupid that was, because that basically, to a lot of people, do your research means watch more videos on YouTube and look at more posts on Facebook, which is not proper research. So don't do your research. Don't do it. Listen to experts. Don't do your own research. You're not equipped to deal with it. For the most part, you're going to get fed misinformation. Please don't do it.
You know, Parker, to make it easy and to move on to the actual subject we're here for, I'm just going to say the phrase that we always use in our private channels, that's to America. Let's move on.
Okay. All right. I have the schedule pulled up, by the way, for the Six Invitational. It starts May 11th, which for those that are curious is in exactly 1 week's time. I can neither confirm nor deny that I am casting it yet. Wink, wink. But I can tell you that I am not traveling. So I guess the first question that I should ask you, and I mean, it could get both of us in trouble, but whatever, who cares? Laxing tweeted out that he didn't think that it should be happening. I think Leon Gids jumped in and agreed with him. I can't exactly remember the Twitter thread. Do you think it's unwise that they're doing the Six Invitational right now, given what's going on in the world with COVID rates and vaccinations?
Yes, I think it's extremely stupid to do it right now. But then again, the individual opinions of people like us, that doesn't really matter into the money grab that it is for the organizations, because obviously they paid money to have players salaried, and they have their part in the pilot program and all this stuff that they need to start making money. And obviously COVID has taken a big toll on the economical part for organizations. The organizations and Ubisoft, and face it, they need to have invitationals. Is it a good idea? No. But they have to. They don't have an option.
Yeah.
So I understand it, but I disagree with it. I think that it should have just canceled it and just skip this year's and taking it as it is and taking responsibility to not spread a virus that's causing so much harm. Even if it's getting down now, it's just not worth it in my mind. I
mean, there are certain jurisdictions where it's not declining. I mean, look at India. India is breaking case counts per day. What was it? It was something like 400,000 people were testing positive like per day or something like that. Now, mind you, this is a country of over it's like 1.3 billion at the moment, 1.2 billion at the moment. But I mean, I agree that it should be moved. I was very on the record when SI back in March or February or March was originally supposed to go on, and then literally 2 days before teams were supposed to leave, it got canceled. I did a stream basically saying I'm very relieved. I don't think it is a wise idea to do it now. I will agree with you in regards to the reasoning. I think it was done because there are stakeholders who want it to be done. The orgs need this injection of money. I can see the regions wanting it from a viewership perspective. You know, it's been a year since a live event. A lot of sponsorships are coming up to be renewed, and your deliverables to them are not super high. You know, if it wasn't for the fact that we enabled drops, our viewership would have been in the absolute tank, especially with no live events. So I can completely understand why, from once again, an economic perspective, it needs to be done. I think from an interest in public safety, and I think for sending a proper message to people, I think it is unwise. And, you know, I look at certain countries that are having live sporting events with crowds, and I just shake my head at it. You know, obviously a country like New Zealand and obviously a country like Australia, which are basically back to normal at this point, did so because they went into some of the strictest lockdowns, you know, in the developed or Western world, or whatever people want to refer to it as. Can't call them like first world countries anymore. Can't say developed. Everybody's going to take some umbrage with it. But they had some of the strictest lockdowns, and now look, now they've got crowds and things are relatively back to normal, and there's very limited spread. But then it's like you see certain countries, especially in Europe, where cases are still spiking in certain jurisdictions, and you're like, maybe we could wait. Maybe we could wait a month or two. Because right now, the estimate in Canada, almost 50% of all eligible Canadians, Ontarians, almost 50% of all eligible Ontarians have one shot of the vaccine. By mid-June, they estimate that'll be at about 80%. Like, that's mid-June. That's a month from now, roughly. That's how much of a difference a month could make.
Yeah, I just think they should cancel it and move it on and take it next time, and they just make the major being the next big event. But yeah, as Bartosz, I saw him in chat saying that neither Faceit is involved. ESL is involved in some parts. So basically, ESL is the one in control of the entire event. Bartosz told us.
Yeah.
Bartosz has leaked that ESL equals invitationals. No, but it should be cancelled. It just makes no sense that it is right now. I look at Sweden as like when I take, obviously we're a bit slower with the vaccination because, well, this week we gave away 1 million doses of AstraZeneca vaccine to the vaccination base, even though we haven't opened up vaccinations for anyone underneath the age of 60 yet. So it's like vaccination in Europe is slower than it is in North America. I'm assuming that in South America, Brazil especially, the vaccination is even slower than it is for us. And then I don't know how it's looking in APAC. I mean, obviously Australia and New Zealand have closed down, and a lot of the Southeast Asian countries don't have that much of a COVID problem anymore, except, well, India is getting a spike now, and I think that's just going to spread like wildfire in all of South America, or sorry, Southeast Asia, if it keeps moving away from India.
The problem as well is that India's numbers are like exploding, and who neighbors Vietnam? Is it it's Cambodia?
Burma, and then you have Cambodia. That's the small country in between. But you have Burma, and then you have Thailand. I'm pretty sure
you've got like Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, all in that same cluster.
Those were
I think Vietnam has had some of the strictest measures as well. Yep. But that's because that whole region has, from what I read online, and obviously I don't know if this has changed, it was a couple of days ago, apparently some of the neighboring countries around Vietnam want to open the borders up and ease their restrictions, even though Vietnam's not ready to, and you just know that they're just going to get hit with a haymaker because of it. So
it's going to go nuts.
I mean, I'm looking at the Swedish numbers right now, and you're holding pretty steady. Like your 7-day average is about 6,000 to 5,000, somewhere in there, 6,000, 5,000. Your vaccination rate is good. About a quarter of your adult population has at least one dose.
Elders above 60.
I mean, it's crazy that you mentioned AstraZeneca as well. I'm not trying to stray too far off this topic, but AstraZeneca is also alongside the Johnson & Johnson one, are the two vaccines that have had issues with blood clots, primarily in younger women.
The chances are extremely low. It's like at some point, the chances of dying from COVID is higher than the chances of dying from the vaccine. So at some point, you have to look at the greater good. Yeah, as us communists always do. No, but we gave away 1 million doses when we don't have anyone under the age of 60 being able to be treated for it. So I don't know. Sweden is doing weird things, but that's Sweden its own. I just think that it should be postponed the entire event.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's a bit of resentment here because I live in one of the few. In the part of Toronto that I live in, there's like they're going by postal codes of what are called hotspots, which is where infection rates are much higher, like alarmingly high. In my area, we are an island. Everything around us is a hotspot. We are one of two like areas, or one of three areas in like the entire north part of Toronto that just right now is not in a hotspot, which is absolutely insane. And
all the gamers moved in there.
there's like 6 hotspots around me, or there's like six actual like non-hotspots around me. But it's just like, it's crazy to look at the map and be like, okay, well, I don't technically qualify. But the problem is that like, and it's not really a problem because I know once again it's for the greater good, but it does kind of irritate me that I have taken an absurd amount of precautions over the last year. And I know friends and acquaintances who absolutely have not, but simply because they live in a hotspot, they're getting vaccinated or have already been vaccinated. And it's like, I sit here and it's like, I wrestle with this, like, there's like this internal power struggle where on one hand, it's like, the more vaccines, the better. I don't care who's getting it. And then especially like if you're a dickhead and you're not going to observe any precautions, you should be among the first to get vaccinated so that your dumb ass doesn't end up spreading it. But then the other part of me is like, that's not like fair. But does fairness count, right? Because it's like the people that have gone out of their way to take precautions should be the people who are quote unquote rewarded. But then it's like, then I'm like, is it really a reward? Like, is it? Anyway, it's just like an internal struggle. Regardless, back on the topic here because we don't want to talk about COVID too much because then you'll get the COVID truthers out.
Only 45 minutes of politics so far. I mean, we're doing good.
We're doing great right now.
I think Troy would have been the perfect balance up of not having to talk about politics the entire time. But Troy I think he was busy doing a bathtub stream or a hot tub stream or something like that. Yes,
this is a hot tub streamer now. He actually, the reason why he couldn't attend today was because his Amazon delivery for the inflatable banana that he would be floating on did not show up. So now he needs to find one in person. And because Ontario's in lockdown, he needs to do curbside pickup. So there's a lot of places he needs to go to check. So, but all right, let's look at the two groups, by the way. Group A for the Six Invitational is BDS, Cloud9, Cyclops Athlete Gaming, Dark Zero Esports, FaZe Clan, Furia, G2, Team Empire, Team Liquid, and Team One. So, of course, ignoring the fact that this is basically every APAC team and every LATAM team in the same group, what are your main takeaways here when you look at Group A? Because in order to determine who's going to make it out of the groups, by the way, it's like an endless gauntlet of best of ones. Let's start with the format. You have to play like 7 or 8 best of ones or something like that before you get out of your groups. If you were competing, what would your thoughts on that be?
It's hard. I mean, you don't have time for as much analysis work as you'd like to do, because then you have to analyze every single team on every single map. And that's an impossibility. What you're going to have to focus on is your own game at this point, and you're going to have to focus more on the adaptation that your team can provide in the situations that you come up against. Because obviously all the teams have different playstyles, and all the regions have different playstyles on top of that. I'd say the regional playstyles have a bigger difference than the actual team playstyles. So it's like, it really is a up and down, left and right sort of situation where anything can happen. You can play against anyone and you wouldn't have any idea what's going to happen. There are obviously some teams in this group that I see are as a weaker threat, like, for example, Team Empire have had such a struggle this last season, and Dark Zero haven't played that great either. So there are some teams that I see as weaker opponents, and there are some teams that I see as favorites. Like I have both Team Liquid and BDS as probably 2 of my 3 favorites to win the entire tournament.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree with that. Let's just look at the first day, for example, just to back up what you said. Team Liquid plays at 11 a.m. against Empire, then immediately plays FaZe after that. Like literally like bang, bang, back to back. Enough time to maybe get up, go pee, grab some water. Desk is going to talk a bit, and then FaZe is going to come in and sit down. And then after that, Liquid concludes their matchup. Let's say it starts at 12:30. Let's be a little bit generous here. Say it ends at like 1:15, 1:30. Takes about an hour for a best of one. They're done at 1:30. They're back in action at 6:30, 5 hours later. So, and then they play Cloud9. So they will have some time to prep for Cloud9, I guess. But I mean, at that point, like, how much are you going to be able to actually effectively prep?
5 hours can be enough to prep a game. I mean, I look at what we did in our events when we were away with G2, and you have 5 sweaty players shared in 2 beds, and then you have that's an entire different plot. Sorry. You take all the players and go to the hotel room with the staff, and then you guys go through what they've been playing lately. Usually, I just think that they will look through the last 2 maps, maybe that they've played, and that's it, because you need to prep mentally and you need to do everything else. You need to do everything else that comes in between. You don't have time to do in-depth analysis on everything that they do and the movements and the thought process that they do. You just don't have time for it.
We've been going through this conversation with the NA League now. Obviously, I know you haven't really been watching, but I'm sure you followed that the global format changed and now every single region is playing under the same best of one standard. A best of one system in regular season play versus a best of one system in group stage play, rapid fire matches back to back. Do you think, with what you said about how teams have to play their own game, do you think there's going to be as much diversity in the operator loadouts, in the map bans, in a group stage format where you have to play, like, for example, Liquid has to play 3 matches on the first day? Do you think there's going to be more diversity from that, or do you think that we're going to see better matches if there was more time space between them like we do in the regular season?
I think that players will take more freedom in terms of making decisions on the go than they would during a match where you have time to prepare. You know you're going to play 1 map, and then you prepare for maybe, I don't know how many they prepare for in NA. I don't know when they do the ban phase, if it's just like 1 hour ahead of the game.
I think it's like 45 minutes ahead of the game.
Yeah, at that point you prepare maybe 2 or 3 maps, depending on how well you know the opponent's ban phase and their tendencies and bans. Here, I think that you're going to just take it with the flow, and you're going to have more the wild players might pick some random ass operators and just do random things with them because you don't have time to prep as accurately as you would normally. So yeah, I think there's going to be more freedom, and I think there's going to be more randomness to the gameplay. But I also think that gives for a more enjoyable of a viewing. Like it's just much more fun when you see different random things and players using their brains rather than just having everything practiced in.
That is an interesting point that you bring up, by the way, because I know that this isn't a widely held opinion. A lot of people don't like the scrappy, unpredictable playstyle that comes from teams not being able to fully prep. And especially if you are a very prep-heavy team, your matchups can be particularly ugly. You know, in North America, one of the most prep-happy teams that we always talk about is Dark Zero. We talk about it till we're blue in the face. This is a team that has a long history of they follow the script to a T as much as possible, and they've always kind of been punished because they can't make any adaptations mid-game. This type of format could, conceivably hurt them and hurt them a lot. They play FaZe, which I'm sure they'll be prepped and ready for, but then they immediately need to play Cyclops, a team that they've, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think they played them in Raleigh. So this is a team that's never matched up against them.
I mean, the super prep heavy stuff, yeah, sure. I mean, it works as counters and stuff like that. But if you want to win tournaments, you can't just have a prep heavy playstyle. You need to have a prep heavy playstyle combined with an adaptive playstyle. And the prep heavy part should come on the staff, and the adaptations should come from the players. Because the players are the ones on the server and the ones that understand the game to a different degree than the analysts do. You can always sit from a perspective of the back and say like, oh, they did this wrong, they did this bad, they did this and this correct. It's like, yeah, it's easy to see that from the perspective of you have wall hacks, you see everyone through the wall, you have a top-down view. It's so easy to see the games that way. And the people that spend lots of time in that, they might become very good analysts. But the thing with being a player is that you don't have any of that. You have the preparation, sure, but when you go onto the server, most of that stuff, it could be something completely different. And if you're not prepared for it mentally, that you might to change the plan up, you're probably screwed. So I don't know if it's going to be. I don't know if the teams that have like really, really good adaptation might be the better teams. I can't tell you, because there's also the part with nerves and all this stuff. There's just so much going into it. And the prep heavy teams, they will probably struggle more. But there are so many factors to it. I think that with the base prep and then adaptation, that's where you go the furthest. And then when you have time to prep longer, for example, when you get into the playoffs, that's when you start prepping hardcore and you actually have the deep knowledge of your opponent.
How much do you think the fact that we haven't seen a single international competition in a year is going to impact this event? And in what way do you think it's going to impact it if you do?
I don't know if it's going to impact much, to be honest. I think that probably the playstyles have isolated themselves a bit more from each other than they have gotten together. I mean, when we had more international events, I think that more teams played more like each other from different regions, but maybe just had a little bit from their touch of the region. For example, Brazil has always been heavy on gunplay, and then you add on some of the adaptations that they see from practice with North America and EU, and they add on some of that parts. But I don't know if they've gone like super far now and just become a guns region again. I couldn't say. We're gonna see that when we see them on the server.
A lot of people think that Brazil going in is the strongest region right now. You'll talk to players, you'll talk to coaches, you'll talk to teams. I've spoken to 3 separate coaches, all 3 in different regions, and they have all said that Brazil right now looks the strongest. And you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say it right now because I want to get ahead of it, because I know that Brazilian fans are going to be very angry with me if this ends up happening. How much is it going to suck? Brazil, a region that consistently thinks that everybody looks down on them. That they think that because we don't call Team Liquid world champions because of their Atlantic City victory, which, by the way, they're not world champions. World champions are only earned by winning the Six Invitational. How much is it going to suck if a Brazilian team wins the Six Invitational this year, and this is the only Six Invitational that is going to have a gigantic asterisk next to it where it says world champions? World champions asterisk, because you are only going to be a world champion for about 6 months, 7 months. This was an event where wildcard has already been disqualified. We have no idea what reverberations COVID might possibly have on the event. God forbid another team ultimately gets disqualified. God forbid a player is unable to make it. Some kind of mishap happens. How much is it going to suck for Brazilian fans if a Brazilian team, let's say Liquid or NiP, actually win it, and forever over their heads, people are going to say, well, it's not a real world championship because of the circumstances. And I want to get out ahead of it, because I know that at some point this conversation is probably going to come up if they end up winning it. And I know that I'm probably going to get jumped on by Brazilian fans, just like I get jumped on when I say that, Team Liquid is not a world champion team. So,
I mean, there's no winning with Brazilian fans unless you're a Brazilian player or a Brazilian caster. That's the way I'm going to put it. The Brazilian fans, they have a special attitude. Let's put it that way. The amount of death threats I've received from that region.
Same, by the way.
There are a lot. And I don't know. I don't see them as a part of the community when that's the sort of way that they act. And I don't care how much you love your team. You're not a decent person if that's the way that you support someone.
Yeah.
But do you look at the online majors as the people that won the online majors? Do you look at them as major champions? I don't. Because I don't think it's a proper event, and I don't think you can't call a major a regional tournament, because that's just not what it is.
Like Dark Zero are major champions. They beat the same 3 teams in North America that they've been playing for a year.
Yeah,
that's not an accomplishment, in my opinion. So
I don't see it as a major. I don't see it as a proper one. I don't think I see this as a proper invitationals either, because you're missing out on so much of what is invitationals by having no crowd.
Yeah.
I mean, where do you guys think that the biggest pressure comes from?
Yeah, I mean, the crowd. I mean, to me, the Six Invitational is more than just an event, and I know that's cliche, but to me, Six Invitational isn't just a world championship. It's everything else that involves it. It's celebrating the community. It's having the fans there. It's having cosplayers there. It's having artists there. It's having streamers there. It's showing off new content. It's like the family get together. Like when you have a family reunion and only you and another family can make it, the same family that you see on a monthly basis or you see on a weekly basis and nobody else shows up, is that technically a real family reunion? No. A real family reunion is when you get everybody together. Everybody.
Even the weird Uncle APAC.
Are you going out of your way to piss him off? Like, I don't.
I mean, it's funny to piss other regions off. It's pretty funny.
I think the Brazilian thing, though, it actually came up when I was talking to another coach, because they said, I think Brazil is the strongest region. I think going in that NiP, Liquid, and even FaZe all have a very good chance of winning. And I was on record at the last SI, and I can say this, with a little bit more enthusiasm because he's not on the show right now. But I was cheering for NiP going into that finals. I really wanted NiP to win really badly. Sorry, SSG fans. But I really, really wanted NiP to win that. I wanted them to be world champions. I wanted another region to be able to hoist that hammer, and I wanted to be able to finally call Brazil world champions, because Liquid winning in Atlantic City is not a world championship. You won a season finals of Pro League. We do not have, 14, 13, 12 world champions because of all the Pro League finals. I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. I don't care what the Brazilian casters call it. Ubisoft themselves do not consider any event to be the world championship except for the Six Invitational. I don't know what the fuck is going to happen when the World Cup happens, by the way, because then technically whatever World Cup team is going to win is also going to be world champions. So we're going to be right back in this fucking debate. But until we get there, right now Ubisoft considers SI to be world champions. That's it. No Brazilian team has won it. No Brazilian team has been world champions. And it has nothing to do with any ire towards the region. I have a lot of love for Brazil. I have cheered for more Brazilian teams than I have not. But I'm going to be kind of miffed if Brazil ends up winning this and there is a talk about how it is illegitimate. I will echo your sentiments and say that it does not feel like a bona fide real SI the same way that every other SI has. And I think every single person will tell you that. I don't think there's anybody who's going to say with a straight face that, yeah, this feels the same. But that's okay. We're getting an SI. That's exciting. I just really hope that if a Brazilian team does win, which by the way, I would be stoked to see a Brazilian team win it. I just hope that we don't end up in that really awful circumstance where we have to like debate the merit of how legitimate their win was.
I mean, I look at the event as somewhat half of an event. Like, I wouldn't put it fully as like a world championship, but then again, it is.
It's just a world
championship.
This is a world That's it.
Yeah, but also then imagine being from a region that haven't even won a world championship. Lol. No, but I think that Brazil has the best chance this year than they have had any year before. I genuinely think that this year is when we see a Brazilian team winning it.
I mean, if you look at Brazil stage 1. Okay, it just concluded. Last match was on April 18th. The top 5, the top 6 are actually the top 6 teams that are going to be competing. There are, in fact, 6 Brazilian teams that are going to be present at the event. There are only 19 teams competing. Wildcard has been disqualified, which, by the way, is another reason why I don't necessarily think this should be happening in my perfect world, because of the fact that Wildcard is just ineligible to make it because of where they live. I don't think that's great that they're not able to play, but that's a conversation for another day. The 6 teams that are representing Brazil in order of the way that they placed in Brasileiro Stage 1: FaZe Clan, Team Liquid, MIBR, Furia, NiP, and Team 1. FaZe Clan sold their entire roster. They pulled a Sonics. They kept Astro, and they picked up the rest of MIBR. MIBR picked up their own team and have been looking pretty fine. So Brazil comes in really, really strong. And then there was that Copa Elite 6 that was just the other day. I don't know if you ended up watching that. Team Liquid won, and they beat MIBR in the finals. So NiP and Team 1 both made it to the Final Four. They've all been playing on LAN against each other. I think they go in with a really good chance of winning it all. But the question for you: which Brazilian team do you think is going to do it?
If any team right now, I think Team Liquid is looking really good. You never underestimate NIP at an LAN event either, even if they didn't win the Copa 6, or I think that was what the name was. And even if they didn't do great in the Brazilian league either. I mean, they ended up on 5th, so it's not like they did great, but don't ever underestimate them. I think that the new FaZe roster, which used to be MIBR, I have always spoken highly of that roster because every time I've played them, I have had such a hard time because they are such individually talented players. You add together some of the strats that they could get, and now, I mean, obviously, if you look at it, it's kind of like MIBR picked up Cameraman and Astro. That's kind of how it went in the end. Sure, they play under FaZe logo now and the FaZe brand, but it's kind of like the old MIBR picked them up. And I think that they stand a really good chance to add together with the structure and the knowledge that those two players have from previous international events, and add that together with the gunpowder that's behind each and every player that they had before. So I think that they're looking good. And Team Liquid, they've just been doing really good as well. I mean, they're the first in the league. And they're also just won the Copa 6. So it's just like two really, really good looking teams. But then again, it's just Brazil, and you never know what can happen. Like any of those 6 teams can just go off and just start shooting everyone. It's you never know with Brazil.
I will say that going in terms of actual pedigree, I don't have the highest hopes for Furia and Team 1. I think this is low-hanging fruit. NiP has not looked as strong as they used to. I mean, we're in a very different meta, right? When SSG was at their peak, it was during the Mute Mozzie meta. The utility meta kind of hurt them, allowing to play at a slower pace where they controlled the flow of every single round and they held information very dearly and were able to drone effectively around it. They shone. They absolutely shined. Kix likes to reference this a lot. A big part of why NiP was so good was they were playing with obviously a fire in their belly running through the lower bracket, but also they were capitalizing off of how strong the TCSG was at the time. They were not bringing a smoke. They were not bringing a mute. They were not bringing a mirror. They were running Goyo and Kaid every single round, and they were using TCSG for rotates. They were using TCSG to do an ass load of damage. And as you can attest, different guns are favored on LAN versus online. You're playing on LAN, a lot of people are going to be running the Roni on Mozzie. Why? Because the hit reg is better, so people are going to be able to hit their shots before that thing runs out of bullets. Online, almost every Mozzie's bringing the Commando.
Yeah.
So with the TCSG, same thing. TCSG, it's a single shot. You miss that shot, you're fucked. You miss your opening duel against an Ashe or a Hibana or something like that with a TCSG in your hand, you're dead. Online, you're dead. On LAN, you've got a much better shot.
Definitely. I just think that region, like the Brazilian region in itself right now, is when you look at the evenness of the entire region and the top teams, I see that, well, obviously all of the teams that are going to invitationals are actually the number 1 to 6. So it's like the actual 6 best teams at the moment. So I think that they all stand somewhat of a chance. Obviously, as you said, both Fury and Team 1 maybe stand a little bit less of a chance. But I still think that they can punish more than we expect them to. I would say Brazil is the strongest region. And I wouldn't even have this discussion with someone that would say something else at the moment. Brazil is the strongest region coming into this tournament.
I think that I mean, I would go so far as to say that I think Liquid is probably the favorite at the moment. Out of every single team that I'm seeing play, I think the top 2 favorites to win the entire event right now is probably Liquid or BDS. Outside of Brazil, let's move past Brazil and let's just talk about regions as a whole before we get back into the groups and the schedules, because obviously I want us to go through the groups and who you think is going to emerge and then what like the top would look like. But outside of Brazil, what do you think is the second next strongest region?
Oh, that one is rough because again, hating on APAC, I think they're the weakest. I always think APAC is the weakest, and it simply comes from not having as many good teams on like a decent ping so that they can practice each other. I think that if APAC had all the teams in the same like vicinity of each other, they would be a much stronger region, but they don't, and unfortunately it's just the way that it is.
I mean, they tried in Japan, right? Wasn't the original idea rumored to be that they wanted like a LAN league in Japan or something like that for all the teams? And
things happen, Ubisoft.
Things happen. A global pandemic happened. I don't think you can blame Ubisoft for this one. I know that. I
think that they released COVID. No. It should be Ubivid. No.
And there goes my career. So.
Yeah, you don't have one anyways.
Off to Valorant.
See you later. Nobody's gonna miss you around anyways. On the last conspiracy theory notes, I don't think that NA is looking great either.
I agree.
NA the teams that are going from NA have struggled immensely in the league, and the only like bright side, I remember when you, me, and Troy and Nick were here, and we were talking about which teams we were looking at from NA. That would
Shate, don't forget Shate, he was present.
Oh yeah, the Chat Lord was here as well. He ended up coming later though, so that's why I forgot him.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was before he arrived, though. And we were talking about this before he arrived. I'm pretty sure about which team we thought were best from NA, and we were looking a lot at TSM, and TSM have underperformed. Obviously, Space Station had a really rough part because of Troy. It's all Troy's fault, and he decided to retire after the window was over. I mean, obviously, it's never a good time to decide something like that, but doing it after the window hit them harder than it probably would if you decided before.
You're just gonna take a spot on the show and then just shit talk him?
Well, I've beaten him so many times that now I might as well just take his job here as well. It's like, imagine coming out of retirement only to lose another tournament. Like, I don't know. The guy loves losing. Guess that's it. No, but obviously Space Station haven't had a good stage either. It's just what it is. I can't even remember how they ended up. I mean, they ended up, what, 7th?
6th or 7th or something like that. I think because they technically did well in their last match.
Yeah, Dark Zero had a rough part. TSM had a rough part. Didn't we have, like, out of the top 5, only 2 teams were qualified? Maybe even top 4, only 1 team, or was it 2 teams in top 4? I can't remember, to be honest. But I think it's only the Team Occident that did good, and
OXG,
they played really well, though.
Won the first stage of NA.
Yeah, I mean, they look good. So maybe that's the part where we can take a good note for NA. But honestly, other than that, nothing really looked well.
So for those that want to know, by the way, It was the standings in the NA League for the first stage were totally upside down of people's expectations. OXG finished first. The Sonics finished second. Mirage finished third. Disrupt finished fourth. So, like we all expected, everything went according to plan. TSM finished fifth. DZ finished sixth. SSG finished seventh.
Good stuff.
Now, I do want to note that the standings were quite compressed. If you look over at the EU League, for example, Navi and BDS both finished first, tied at 20 points. Fifth place was your former team, G2, with 14 points. So to go from fifth to second place, you need 6 points, which is 2 full wins. Whereas in NA, first place, OXG finished with 17th, and Space Station in 7th was with 12 points. So there is less of a gap in NA from 7th to 1st than there is from 5th to 2nd in Europe.
Sure, but we have to look at it from the perspective as well, is that the teams that we expected to be top tier teams in NA didn't perform.
Yes, I think that's very valid. Yes, TSM, DZ, and SSG finishing 5th, 6th, and 7th is a massive disappointment for SI implications.
So no matter the compression, if you look at it from before the season started, this should not happen.
Yeah.
I mean, Sonics and FaZe both did the four-man kick. One team kept their worst player. One team kept their best player. I'm not going to say which. But
it's a real mystery there, which one you think, by the way.
No,
I'm not going to say which, by the way.
Super gets a lot of unnecessary hate. I mean, it's easy to look at the statistics and say this is all, but it's far from the entire story, I would assume. I mean, you look at the two players that they got in from Europe in Sonics before, and they went back to EU, and then what happened for them in EU? Nothing. Like they didn't perform at all. What
happened is that they're on Team Secret, who are dead last in EU, and I'm curious to see what their stats were, because I didn't get to watch any of EU for the last 2 weeks because we had 5 play days in the span of 8 days or something like that. It was a stupid amount.
Nah, I went on Siege 2G, and Gomfi had a rough season with minus 24 in plus minus and minus 7 in entry frags with Ash and Mute as his main operators. 7 only went minus 3 in normal plus minus, but minus 4 in openings with Sofia Maestro. So they didn't have any glorious season when it comes to statistics, but then again, I just said it before. Statistics isn't everything. It's more about how the team performs, and Team Secret didn't perform. However, the Sonics, they did. They were better than Super Ace and Bad, and trust me, I know about that. I have been there with him.
It's awfully telling that Sleben and Gomfi can come over to North America and just put up good numbers, and then when they go back to EU, they're back to being bad again.
North America is like the Farmers League, you know?
Didn't you say you were going to go pro in Farming Simulator or something like that? You still thinking about it?
I mean, I need 2 good teammates that know how to take corn out from the field, and we'll see what happens then.
Reunite that old Penta roster.
Yeah, Penta Farming Simulator.
I'm sure the org is desperate for relevancy in some way. So
Nick is not going to be the highest corn pickup percentage player, but he's going to be the most tactical storage container master. I don't have any idea what I'm talking about.
I was going to say there's some great Iowans, some great Nebraskans that you can just come to North America and just take any of them, and I'm sure they'll excel at the game. So I mean,
you go to North America and you just go to this like the central states where it's all fields, and you just go up to a random village and put the paper on the wall looking for Farming Simulator players. It's like
they're like, "What simulator?" They're like, "We do this in real life."
Yeah, and they're like, "Yeah, but I want to put you in front of a computer doing the exact same thing."
So I appreciate that you call it team. What'd you call it? Like Central America, please. We refer to those states as flyover country because all you ever do is fly over them. You never want to visit them.
All right.
Please be very specific with your words here. These people worked very hard for that title.
Yeah.
If you look at the general standings, there is one thing that comes to mind in Europe. You think that Europe is the second best region after LATAM. Oh, whoa, how the mighty have fallen. An empire is crumbling. They finished 9th. 2 points out of dead last. What do you think is going wrong with Empire?
I don't honestly know. It's not looking good at all. They seem to fall super hard, and I don't know if it's mentality-wise. I mean, they've changed around a bit in the roles from the few matches I've actually watched, and it just doesn't seem to sync as well as it should do, probably. I couldn't tell yet. It's disappointing, but I expected a completely different way of the European League turning out, especially from actually, like, obviously I practiced most of these teams like back in December and November, so I know which teams were strong at that point, and the way that the league is looking today is not the way that I would look at the league.
What do you think? What do you think the standouts are?
Then.
For those, by the way, for those that don't know, the standings were Na'Vi and BDS both finished tied for first. Na'Vi had the tiebreaker, so they actually finished first. BDS finished second. Same amount of points. Kavana Gaming finished third. They're brand new to the league. Rogue finished fourth, up from dead last and almost relegated. G2 fifth. Virtus Pro sixth. Vitality seventh. Train Hard, which took over BDS, or not BDS's spot, Tempera's spot, in eighth. Team Empire in ninth. And Secret in 10th. What did you think they were going to be like? The standings.
I didn't expect Kavana to go as well as they did. I mean, they have a really tight group of players, and I think they're enjoying playing with each other, and I think that's one of their biggest strengths. I'm a bit surprised by Rogue doing as well as they did from having that hard of a time in Stage 2 last season. I'm actually very happy for Kryn that he's doing well, because I think he got a lot of unnecessary shit when he was playing with G2, and I think he was suffering really, really hard from nerfs when he was with us.
I heard his IGL was a total dickhead too.
Oh, yeah, no, I was a shithead to him. But then again, we expected more, because what he did in practice with us before we picked him up was amazing. And then he just had really, really, really rough games. And it was a completely different person in the real matches than he was in practices before. And I'm happy for him that he manages to do well, because if you look at from teammate-wise, he's one of the better teammates. Same in Hungary, I would say, is probably the two best personalities when I've had the teammates. So I think that both those two players deserve more praise than they get. But I didn't expect Kavana to be that high up. I'm a bit surprised by Rogue. Very surprised by Team Secret and Team Empire. And I'm very surprised by Train Hard that they managed to actually not be in dead last. But a bit disappointed actually in Blast playing in Train Hard, because I expected big things from him. Like I played with him because when we were doing trials for Vitality, he was one of the players that I looked at as being my main pickup for a frag role, and he was going nuts in practice. So I expected more from him in the league in itself, but sometimes things don't connect, and it could be nerves, it could be the setup of his team. Hard to say. I just expected more of him. But there are some, as I said, Kavana is higher than expected, so is Rogue. Empire and Secret are lower than expected, and Train Hard is also higher than expected. Then everything else is kinda reasonable for what they are as a team.
I know we memed about this a bunch, but what do you think the likelihood is that in some of the later games, like if you go and you look at the very final play day of EUL, the lower seeded team won in every single match? Train Hard was lower than Rogue, they won. Empire was lower than Secret, they won. VP was lower than BDS, they won. G2 was lower than Na'Vi, they won. Vitality was lower than Kavana, they won. Do you think, and if you go back even before that, right, because you had the 2 play days in a row, play day number 8 was just the day before that, do you think that it's possible, I know we joke about this, do you think it's possible that there are teams that are not necessarily showing their full hand, knowing that they're going to go into SI and want to put on the best performance possible, and that might mean saving strats?
Always a possibility. I mean, we did it even when we were in a shitty situation with G2, so there's always the possibility of it. The likelihood? Very hard to say. I mean, at this point, I think we've come to a degree where the game, you are not as dominant as we were with G2 back in the day, because at that point we were winning the league almost even when hiding strats. So I wouldn't say that it's maybe the same degree, but I think that there are definitely teams that are hiding maps. Couldn't tell you which, but I'm expecting it just because it is the smartest thing to do. if you want to win the big tournaments, you have to do something different from everyone else. And at some point, that is hiding strats.
Yep. I mean, like, I remember being the person to say that you are, you know, when you folks were playing last time and you said, oh, I'm saving strats, blah, blah, blah. I said every team is saving something. No team is going all out. No team is literally leaving everything or leaving nothing on the table in every single match. Like, you're looking at the big picture. You could be workshopping a map, or you could be workshopping a certain strategy or a certain operator ban against certain teams for 2-3 months, and you just wait till the golden opportunity to do that, right? And
yep,
you know, no offense to the regional leagues, winning stage 1 of EUL is nothing, absolutely nothing in comparison to winning SI.
No, nothing at all.
So it stands to reason that most teams they're going to be competitive. They don't like losing, but I know that there are teams out there, and I've spoken with teams out there, and you've even spoken about it before, where you hide certain stuff. You conceal it because you know that at some point you're going to need it in a big moment. And then you pull it out when it has the best opportunity of giving you a win.
We were hiding a thing on border with G2 for over 2 years.
Yep.
We had a thing on border that we hid. We never found a good opportunity to use it because no team was playing into the thing that we had. We had something for 2 years, never used it, even though like we found so many ways. And as Farrell is saying in chat, it only worked on land build. We had cleared it with admins 2 years ago. We cleared every single event up until, well, obviously border wasn't in the pool anymore. But it's like, there are things that you guys have no idea about, and it was a nasty angle. We could actually, you could actually see through the skylight above the office. You could like do kind of a surf where you could see down into the fountain area through the window for a brief second. So you went up, your head went up on the top, and then you fell down. It was kind of like an edge thing, and we were allowed to do it because we cleared it every single time with the admins because it was easy to reproduce, and you could see down into fountain and kill a person if they're crossing from the door to the fountain. So we had an angle for that from the roof, and it was never used because the map was rarely played by us, and then nobody that we played against used that fountain as a ground to place from.
I appreciate the insight on these kinds of things as well, because I have no doubt that there are teams that bring special strats. I can tell you as a caster, it sucks because there have been lots of times where we think we're seeing something new, but we're handicapped by the spectator system.
Yeah.
And a team can come up with this really elaborate setup, really elaborate strategy, and we'll never see it because it's not something that's being focused on. Because either somebody at Ubisoft or ESL or Faceit or whoever says, hey, less time spent on top down, more time spent in first person. They're focused on a roamer instead of somebody who's playing on site, or they're focused on somebody on site, yada, yada, yada. It's one thing that, and obviously I hate to make this comparison, but it's one thing that I loved about Valorant is that you don't really miss a ton. You've got a mini map, and you've also got all of the players on the same level. There's very little verticality. And it's like, after I finished Cassian, I kind of came away and I was like, man, like, I know that I don't understand the game at the same level that I do Rainbow Six, but holy smokes, does it make it easy to see what's going on? Even in Rainbow Six, Kix was like, could you imagine if we had a mini map for Rainbow Six? I was like, some of these maps are like 3 fucking stories. How are you going to do a proper mini map on that? Like, we're going to need like a 3D rendered floating mini map in the corner to see when people are like looking up and down and through certain angles. And it's just like, it never happened, man. So
it's a bit too complex. That's for sure. We're suffering a bit from that. And our game compared to most other games is that it's too much depth in our game in comparison to others. It's easy to understand what's going on. Sure, that you're attacking a building and one team is defending the building. But it's much easier to understand both Counter-Strike and Valorant than it is to understand our game. And I wouldn't say that Overwatch is really a contender because I don't even think that's a game anymore.
I mean, it's definitely a game, but at the same time, I mean, it's just there are certain esports that are easier to view. Ours the incredible difficulty involving hours is just the ability to see things happening. You know, people talk about how long-winded we can get and how, you know, casters aren't focusing on the game. And it's like, there are a lot of times where, you know, you can't see what's happening. You know, it's such small and minor changes that you don't see because it's missed by somebody, or it's missed by a spectator, or a player does it for a second. And we don't have a mini map. We don't have a top-down view, persistent, you know, so it's hard. Let's keep going on here, because we still got 2 more regions to talk about. You talked about LATAM, you sang their praises. You talked about EU, you were pretty nice about EU. You kind of talked about how you didn't like where NA was heading. So now's your chance. We can talk about NA. For those that are aware, all of the NA teams will be present as far as we know. There will be 5 teams competing. In Group A, there is a single North American team. That's it. Dark Zero against the world. In Group B, with Wildcard being unable to attend and therefore being disqualified, there are 9 teams in Group B, 4 of which are from North America. You've got Space Station, OXG, TSM, and then Parabellum. Parabellum Esports came in picking up Altiora's spot. This is a very similar roster that will be competing at SI. They also had a player who was a fucking cheating scumbag who got banned. Good riddance, goodbye, don't ever come back. Apparently was never going to... This roster actually has had some major issues. There was that whole awkward situation where apparently he was like weird with a younger woman in the scene, even though I think he's disputed it to a certain extent. And then literally 8 days later, one of their players, Louise, is like, hold on, I got this, and then gets suspended and then banned from cheating. Supposedly just used that. Did you see it? What was it? The NVIDIA or Intel wireframe or something like that? Did you?
I honestly, Parker, when it comes to video games and cheating, I'm too stupid to do any of it. So I have not seen any of it, because I'm plain and honest too stupid to understand anything. I know how to install games on Steam, and then I know how to press play. Other than that, I wouldn't know how to do anything. So I have no idea.
There was something where apparently it was whether it was a glitch or not. I don't really know the full tech component of it. But anyway, it basically gave you like these wall hacks where you could see through walls, and it only displayed like the wireframe that was in it, and you could basically have a clear view of the entire thing. Anyway, the clip is blatant as fucking hell, and he said, of course, this is how it goes, Fabian. He goes, hey, this guy's cheating. And he goes, no, I wasn't cheating. And then more proof comes out that he was cheating, and he goes, okay, well, I only cheated for 1 game. And it's like, of course we believe you. Of course we believe you, even though you've immediately proven yourself to be a liar. So
I don't know. It's hard to say. He might have cheated for 1 game. He might have cheated for more, but it doesn't really matter. He got caught. He's done for. That's just the way that it is.
He was like, I got lucky. Here's my YouTube. Here's my blah, follow me. And it's like, you're a little rat. Go away. Don't ever come back.
He should have just done it on a Smurf account. I mean, he would have gotten away with it then. It's like...
That's the thing. Like, you remember, you were playing at the time when there was a glitch where you could recreate like unlimited gadgets, right? And Kix did it to get unlimited grenades, and he was fucking around with it in like a custom game where he was and I mean, it was a bannable offense, but Kix was in a custom game doing something which, by the way, our game should have innately, which is allowing you to use like as many smokes or flashes without having to reload, so that you can line up smokes and grenades, etc. But I mean, that's an entirely separate conversation. Anyway, Kix apparently went into a custom game and he was doing it, and then he got banned because it caught everybody who was doing it, and Kix ended up getting banned. And then Kix explained what he was doing to Ubisoft, and he got unbanned. Why? Because Kix was literally doing it for like educational purposes in a custom game by himself for his team to line up grenades and stuff. This guy on his main account goes into a ranked game in the middle of the night at peak gamer hours, Fabian. He's on at peak grinder hours. He's on at accountability tweet hours is what he's on at. And he starts using it against real people in a ranked game and gets called out for it.
Like, all I'll say is he has massive balls. It's impressive. It's impressive.
I don't think it makes him massive balls. I think it's
massive balls. I think he's got massive balls going up against the people that sit at 4 a.m. in the morning, the people he knows will see shit, and you go up and do it. Like, the dude literally comes up to his computer desk. He takes off his pants and he just puts his ball on the desk before he plays. And
Just
then
one?
the keyboard
Just
goes
one
on
ball?
top of his ball. No, both his balls goes up, and then the
Like-
keyboard on top of the balls, and then he starts gaming. Like, he doesn't feel pain. He is a genius. There's few people that have the balls to do that.
The
He's
balls,
one of
he
them.
destroyed his possible career. I mean, his stats weren't particularly good, but he destroyed his
took it
career.
into his own hands to do so. He just decided that I'm gonna cheat, and I'm not gonna hide it. I'm not even gonna try to hide it. I'm gonna shoot at people through walls. I'm gonna look at people through walls. I'm gonna pre-aim at people. The amount of balls needed to do all of that, never seen before. I'm talking about when Candor joined us in G2. He had balls. This guy had bigger.
You speak from experience? Did you?
Fondle them, yes. You know, Parker, when you play in a team,
Stop.
sometimes
Nope,
you have to do
please.
the extra mile to be a better teammate. And when players have a date at an event or something like that, sometimes you need to help them shave the private parts. And Kanto has massive balls, which means he can't reach all around them. Intimate moments. Yes, I have shaved his butthole.
What? How did it?
Couldn't reach.
Okay. I'm just gonna immediately move on because I don't
Why
even
do you think you need 5 players so we can do it in a circle, helping each other out?
What?
What?
How are you like? I don't like. What do you? How you shave a? Never mind. Back onto the topic of Parabellum esports.
You're just not a team player.
No, back on the topic of Parabellum esports. I'm not humoring
They're
this
going
anymore.
out in groups.
I agree with you. I understand that Jesse Chick got some people pretty fucking mad. For those that don't know, Jesse Chick, aka formerly Corn Pop, the analyst formerly known as Corn Pop. He's a big Parabellum fan. I mean, he is Canadian. Parabellum is, as far as I know, is a Canadian organization, and additionally, his Canadian team. He got some of their merch and is basically super pumped. They announced they were picking up Sonar and Euphoria for SI, and he's now really hot on their chances. I would like to remind people that they are presently in a tough group. And not only are they in a tough group, they're also in a tough group with a lot of NA teams. Group B, for those that are curious, are not just those 4 NA teams that I noted, but it's also Giants Gaming, who are formerly from APAC North and are now APAC South, in what I find to be really poor communication. And whoever made that call, I don't know. Did you follow that, by the way?
Yeah, I heard they got demoted to the South
yeah.
League. Yeah.
Which is horseshit, by the way. Like, oh, we need somebody to balance out APAC South, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, Fnatic is literally in Australia. Fnatic is in Australia right now. But because of what do you think the reason was? What do you think the reason was that they didn't put Fnatic in APAC South? What do you
Because
let's just
they
go
have
let's
the
go on a
biggest
limb here. What do you
org. They
think?
have the biggest org.
Wow. All right? Like, what do you think the reason was? People are like, this one's a real thinker. I'm real stumped here. It's like, you shouldn't be stumped at all. Like, you've got a team that isn't in Australia. You got a team that's in Singapore that's looking to move to Japan, just as Fnatic are. You got a team that's in Singapore, and then you've got a team that's in Australia. Guess which team had to play against the other Australian teams? Not the Australian team. So anyway, Giants Gaming, who are now technically in APAC South, and they had some pretty big struggles. I don't know if you watched any of that. They had some issues in APAC South, which is a crying shame because Giants were consistently one of the 2 best teams in APAC North in the previous year, up there with Cloud9. Joining Giants Gaming in Group B, it's MIBR from Latin America, Makers, who I also think are going to be going out in groups. The Italian team from EU, NIP, OXG, Parabellum, Space Station, TSM, and VP Virtus Pro from EU. Safe to say, Group B is a weaker group than Group A. I think you would agree with that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that 3 teams in that group could go out. Well, obviously, Wildcard is already out since they're disqualified, but I think Parabellum and Chaos are the 2 other teams that would have gone out. Yep. I think that no matter who goes out from Group A, I think that they would be stronger than whichever 2 of those teams make it out from, one team now makes it out from Group B. Doesn't matter if it's MKers or Parabellum going out. I think that both teams going out from Group A would have been stronger than whichever team makes it through.
I mean, I think the 3 weakest teams that made it to SI were all in Group B. Makers, Parabellum, and Wildcard, in my opinion, were the 3 weakest teams, and they all got put into the same groups. Frankly,
match fixing.
I don't think it was match fixing, Fabian. I was going to say I don't like the way they did these groups. The problem is that if you just pick arbitrarily, like for example, there should not be 4 of the 5 NA teams in Group B. There shouldn't be. You should try to evenly allocate groups per region. So there are 6 LATAM teams present. Okay. 5 of them are in Group A. Half of Group A is from Brazil. Why?
We have an international event with national groups. Point.
Do you not remember SI last year? Group C was Giants versus NIP, MIBR, and Liquid.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be something that they can do better from that. I mean, why do you watch Invitational? Why do you watch the international event? Sure, I can understand that from the perspective of seeding, you have to do something. Mm-hmm. But at some point, the teams and the players have to also accept that we're living in a entertainment business, and entertainment comes from watching the other group, the other regions playing against each other. I mean, I don't mind getting the weakest group every event I go to. I mean, that's the best for me, right? I make the most money, but it's still, it has to be entertainment value. And watching all the teams from the same region against each other just isn't fun.
Sorry, I didn't see NIP. Mentally, I'm not picking up on NIP because they changed their logo. By the way, I absolutely hate NIP's rebrand so much. I hate it. I think it's awful. I did not see NIP in Group B because I don't know. I just see their logo. My eyes just glaze over. Anyway, 4 teams in Group A, 2 in Group B from LATAM. But then you've got 4 teams from NA in Group B and 1 in Group A. It doesn't make any sense. I think that Group B is a significantly weaker group. Number 1, Giants Gaming are coming in on a downward swing. MIBR looks like a pretty good team. I never thought Makers was particularly good at all. NIP, big question marks about NIP right now. They're struggling in Brazil. How are they going to do in this meta? How are they going to do on a main stage? OXG comes in as probably the best hope. They've looked like they've still got some things to work on. I mean, Kino and Yaga are going to need to... Well, I mean, technically, Yaga's not playing on LAN for the first time because he did technically play at DreamHack Montreal. But at the same time, if I remember correctly, he played at DreamHack Montreal. I think he did. I'd have to go back and check. Anywho, OXG are coming in looking like, at the present moment, in terms of the regular season, they look like they're the best hope for NA, but I mean, things can change. We've seen teams come in that are... Look at Liquid. Liquid always seems like the best hope for Brazil, and then comes in and then flames out in the group stages. And meanwhile, it's NIP and FaZe who are coming in second and third, who tend to make the deeper runs. Liquid is wildly inconsistent on LAN. I think their consistency issues have gotten better, but I still think that they're a little too inconsistent. So we'll see. We'll see for OXG. Foxay likes to say that his team has finished in the quarters or better in every single live event that he's ever been to. So if that holds, that means that OXG is not going to finish worse than 8th. I think Parabellum's going out in groups as well. Space Station, I have no fucking idea. Do we even know if Troy has really played this game over the last couple months? Like maybe he just retired and that's it. Right? You
don't have Troy in your team for his great aim. We've seen that on White Stars. You have him in the team because he brings a lot of experience, the leadership, and just the personality that he brings. It's more than most other people can bring. And then the brain of it in its own. It's just he's a good overall player, just not the best aimer. You don't bring him for it, but that's not what that team has ever been lacking. So they have some of the best shots in that team in North America. So bringing Troy back, I think, is a good thing, but we'll see how far it goes.
The chat is very unhappy, by the way, with my comments on makers.
Let them. I mean, the people scream. Who cares? Oh yeah, for the first time in the history of Italy, they've won something. Oh wait, okay, they won World War One, I guess, but that's about the last time they actually did anything of importance. You just let them be. They have their fucking falang, and it's annoying at this point. Let them be.
I mean, I won't call them annoying. Here's what I will say about
annoying. They're annoying. They've done nothing but qualify for an event, and they speak like they have won it all. Just let them be.
I will say this. The whole conversation around makers was...
I'll go to the toilet when you speak about this.
I feel like you timed that one perfectly well. The one thing that I will say about makers while Fabian is gone, and I know that he's probably gonna align with this, is that makers stormed through the SI quals, repeatedly beating big teams, and then afterwards there were accusations leveled at makers that somebody on the team was cheating. Here's what I will say about this. Whenever a team comes out of nowhere and surprises everybody at the top level, that it is incredibly insulting that the first thing that people do is accuse that team of cheating. And I know that there were people saying, oh, we're going to dig into the Moss files of makers. Oh, how come some of these players have been garbage and now all of a sudden they're like out fragging like EU superstars. We have seen time and time again, especially in Europe, that regional teams can do exceptionally well with limited experience. Empire came out of nowhere. Look at how they did. Forza/Virtus Pro came out of nowhere. Look at how they did. Look at Kavana right now. Navi, same thing. Navi qualified, and then within one season were Pro League champions. EU has a long history of teams appearing out of nowhere and performing exceedingly well. So I can totally understand why the fans, especially when you are a national team, as Makers is, you are going to bring out the most passionate fans whose support of that team is completely interwoven with their national identity. We see this with Brazil a lot. You insult a Brazilian team, and one of the first things that Brazilian fans say is, it's just because they hate Brazil. Same thing with Turkish fans. Same thing with French fans. Same thing with Russian fans. The moment that you go after their team, whether your criticism is valid or not, it ends up, whether it's right away or whether it comes pretty quickly or it takes a little bit of time, eventually the conversation changes to, well, you just hate us because we are whatever nationality, which is so dumb. It's so fucking dumb. If I'm making fun of you and your team, it's not because you're Swedish. It's not because I don't like Swedish people. If I'm saying, oh, Navi doesn't look particularly good, it's not because I hate beans on toast. Even though I do, that's fucking disgusting. That's not real food. So I can understand why the fans of Makers got really upset. Because of course, their team made it, an Italian team is finally competing at a world event, and everybody's like, oh, Makers are cheating. So I can get why their fans got a little obnoxious. And I will say their fans got very fucking obnoxious for like 48 to 72 hours after they qualified.
They're still annoying.
Okay, I'm not going to go that far.
Even when I play random ass strategy games, I get questions about them. Do you understand? That's how annoying they are.
I think that it's unfortunate because that annoyance is, you can't decouple that from how excited and passionate they are. Right? And even now, I said I don't think Makers is very good. Even people in the chat are like, you'll see. And it's like, I'll see what? That they overperform my expectations? Like, don't take it so personally.
Having a week enough overperforming is normal. Like, everyone has good weeks. If they make the same thing on LAN, I'll be very surprised. But I think that the people accusing them of cheating did so way too early. Yeah. And if they wanted to accuse them of cheating, you should make yourself a pretty clear case before you do.
Yeah. I get that. I mean, imagine being an Empire fan. Imagine being a VP fan. People come out and like, oh, they're cheating.
Yeah, but they were, Parker. All of them were. Every single team that's ever done well has been cheating. Except mine.
Did SSG cheat last year at Six Invitational?
Yes. If they have won a tournament, they have cheated. All of them. Every single one. Confirmed. Heard it here first.
Except for yours.
Except for mine.
Okay. The point that I'm trying to make is that I can empathize with the fans of Makers. You're pumped that your team, which, and I mean, I'm not saying this to be rude. Makers is an obscure team with a bunch of players who have competed in Italy and Europe for a long time and have never, ever had any success. Finally, they do. Whether you want to say overperforming for a weekend or not, qualifying for SI is a huge accomplishment. And this team deserved to be proud of it. But I can totally understand why then immediately following what is going to be the sweetest victory in your career, and I don't think Makers has an accomplishment that is bigger than qualifying for SI so far, that within hours of qualifying for SI, you're being bombarded by established figures in the EU League, established content creators, and entire fan bases. You're being accused of cheating. I'd be furious.
It's just how it's always going to be. When teams don't win and they are the favorites to win, the other team are going to be accused of doing something fishy just for the sake of accusing them. It's the easiest way to cope with them losing rather than saying that my team was actually fucking garbage and we lost because we were shit. It's harder to accept that than it is to accept that someone who shouldn't win on paper actually did. I think that if you're a player in that situation, just fucking ignore it. Fucking social media in itself is a toxic platform that's only there to be fucking toxic. There's two ways. It's either super toxic or it's showing off that you're the best person in the world, living the best life that you possibly can. You always see the positives, and then it's hate brigading on the other side. It's those are the two things. Social media sucks. Don't give a crap about what anyone says, because in the end, it doesn't matter. It's just. Yeah, it's just annoying that people even bring it up. Who cares in the end? Just let them play on the server and show themselves off. When they win, they win. If they don't, they don't. And then after that, people can make their opinions.
There you go. I mean, the problem is that I think that the concern among cheating in this game, I mean, it stems from you played back in the pre-BattleEye days. So you know how bad it was before Fair Fight and BattleEye existed.
Yep.
It's the fact that even with the most robust anti-cheat possible, there are stories of players in different esports paying tens of thousands of dollars for a cheat that only works once. They use it for a single tournament, and that's it. And I mean, think about it. Prize pool is $3 million. How much money did the guys from SI take home? It was something like, let's go.
1 million for first prize, so 200k a pop, depending on if you pay your coach or not, and also if your org takes any cut, so 200k per person.
Well, keep in mind that SSG also has about 40 analysts.
So but that's what I said. If you pay your coach with prize pool.
Yeah. So, I mean, the average SSG player actually probably only took home about $4,000 afterwards.
About.
But no, I mean, you think about it, it's like, so they've got to pay taxes on that and all that jazz. But let's say you walk home, with before tax, you walk home with like a very comfortable 160K to 200K, right? You pay 10 to 15 grand for a cheat, you've just earned your money back and then some.
The few times when I actually play Siege in like ranked environment, and every time I go up, I get like either with hackers in my team or against hackers, I always ask them questions because I find it very interesting what they're doing, because obviously you have to have something in your head to be able to code something that gets around the anti-cheat programs. And I always ask them about the difficulties of what they are actually doing. And they always say that it's very, very easy to get around it and like do it for a while. It's just in long term how it is like to avoid the anti-cheat in long term. That's the only thing that they say is a difficulty. And the people that have made their own stuff that I talk to about that, like it's all in ranked games. Like I'm asking them in the ranked games. They say that if they are the only ones who use it, they rarely get banned.
Yep. That's the thing too. Like I remember I was listening to, I can't remember what esport it was. I think it was either Dota or CS:GO. And there was a story that was being told to me by a TO of a guy who was competing and he never got caught. And the story came out afterwards that he paid something like 20 grand for a cheat that was specifically developed just for him, that was used on a LAN build. And it was undetectable, and they won a whole whack of money on it. I can't remember who it was. This was like a decade ago or something like that. So it might not have even been like CS:GO. It could have been like CS Source or something like that. And one of the TOs from ESL was telling me about this story. And he's like, yep. He's like, the guy had like, it was some weird thing where it was like, it gave you like a very soft sound or something like that when, you were looking in the direction of somebody, blah, 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 like just so you knew. He paid like 20 grand for it, and he never got caught. And he used it once, and that's it. And it's just him who used it. It was on a LAN build, and that was it. And it was like undetectable.
Yep. I mean, I think that the people that are doing this on that sort of level, they know what they're doing. Yep. I mean, otherwise they wouldn't be at that sort of level, right?
A lot of the people as well that use cheats, they don't design them themselves. They just pay smarter people for it. Right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, because the smarter people won't put themselves in a position where they might be caught for it,
I think the big concern right now, and Kix has talked about this at length, and this is something that we had to deal with too. Back when I played MW2, back when I played Call of Duty MW2, there was cheating did not exist. Or sorry, anti-cheat did not exist. Playing the game, playing like a TDM or a domination match, you were running into a cheater almost every match. Even now, I mean, there's a paltry amount of people that play it on Steam. I think there's like maybe like 800 people who are playing it. Go back and play Modern Warfare 2 right now. Almost every single lobby you get into is a hacked lobby. And it was starting to get to that point prior to Black Ops 1 coming out. And I just remembered that there were teams that were talking at length like, we can't pick up new players because we don't know if they're cheating. It's like, how are we supposed to, like, some guy pops off in like a ranked game and you're like, hey, you're pretty good. Do you want to try out for our team? Because how the fuck else are we going to find people? Because there's no actual like league structure or anything like that. And you're like, well, they could be cheating. There's cheating everywhere. And the problem was that because cheating was so rampant and was never caught and never punished, in the back of your head, the moment that somebody starts to do well, you are almost like programmed to just immediately doubt their ability and think that they're cheating. And that's where we're at in Rainbow right now. I watch a lot of Rainbow streams every now and then. I don't watch it as much as I used to, but I'll see a streamer play. They load into a match, their overlay comes up, and they're playing 4 people who are all like level 80, and their mental's already gone. They're like, one of these guys is cheating for sure. There's no way they're at plat 1 on a level 80 account. This guy's got a 1.8 KD. He's level 72. He's obviously cheating. The players have no faith in BattleEye right now. There's no faith. So you are constantly on edge, and if somebody does something weird, you immediately just assume they're cheating. And it just destroys your mental ability. It crushes it.
Completely. I mean, there's no one who thinks that this anti-cheat we got right now is doing any work. I mean, I don't play Siege. I used to solo queue quite a lot of Siege because I solo queue all the time. I don't have friends. I hate human beings. So I solo queue. Now I solo queue Valorant because that's basically it's not as many cheaters in that game as it is in Siege. And I just don't see a point in solo queuing Siege because it's just like you see a random ass guy who is level 70, who is always better than you, and he just knows everything, has a brain bigger than like my entire stomach, and they never drone. It's like, okay, yeah, what can I do? I've only won second most tournaments of all players in this game. I can't outbrain them. Doesn't matter what I do.
I mean, thank goodness for the replay feature, because the amount of cheaters who are getting caught in post is wonderful. The amount of times that you have suspicions and you're thinking, oh, are they cheating? Oh, are they stream sniping? Because that's another very real possibility. You know, the amount of UAV kill streaks that are out there right now in a single game of Rainbow Six is insane, Fabian.
Yeah.
But it's just like, look at the big streamers that we've lost. Like, for a variety of reasons, the Russian Badger isn't making Rainbow Six content anymore. About a year ago, we lost Shroud, we lost B-Nans, we lost Justin. Lil Lexi doesn't play the game anymore. Ammunition quit about half a year ago. She doesn't play Rainbow Six either. Pengu has been playing a ton of other games on stream. Kix has been streaming Valorant more than he's been streaming Rainbow Six as of late. I just haven't streamed, period. You haven't been streaming at all. Macy's been branching out. He'll play like a couple matches of Rainbow Six until he reaches a point where he can't do it anymore. And Macy's been playing way more games now too. Paladin Amber used to play an assload of Rainbow Six. I don't think I've seen her touch it in well over a year at this point. Marley quit. Anthony Pitt stopped making videos. Too Mad moved his focus elsewhere, largely because he blew up. That has nothing to do with the state of the game. But it's like, you look at all of these huge creators that we used to have, and all of them, for a variety of reasons, have abandoned this game in some way, shape, or form. I know this doesn't have to do with SI, but it's just like, it gets to a point where, what can you do to fix it? Like, honestly, what can you do?
I wish I knew. I mean, I take one of those things that I don't stream the game anymore. It just comes from I can't stand playing solo queue because it's just, I don't trust the system to put me into a fair game. I mean, either I play 5 stacks or I play against cheaters. Those are the two things I see in front of me every time I start the game. And it's kind of funny because, like, even if you look at, like, I'm not a big streamer when you compare me to those other names. But when I actually streamed Siege full time for a month, I made more money from streaming than I did from my contracted salary from G2. And we were paid well with G2. So you look at it, like, the people that are leaving Siege, they know they're making so much money from actually streaming Siege and making content for it, but they value their own mental health more than that high amount of money because they aren't enjoying their time playing Siege.
Yep.
I
was making really crazy. Good money off of my Twitch. You know, when I'm not going to say the sums or anything like that, but when I lived in Poland and I was casting Pro League,
yeah,
most months I was making more money off of my stream than I was casting. I was streaming almost every single day. My sub count was hovering between, 1,000 to 2,000, somewhere in that range, plus donations, plus ad revenue, plus bits. And it's just like, nowadays I stream like once or twice a month and that's it. And it's not even Rainbow Six content.
Since I don't care about people knowing how much I make when it comes to streaming, because I just plain and simply, I don't stream. Mm-hmm. I'm actually going to look up how much I made that month of February, March, when I streamed every day. Let's see if I can find it. Because I'm pretty sure it's like between 4 and 5K US dollars that I made that month. Mm-hmm. And then I just stopped because I couldn't take it anymore. It wasn't enjoyable. Let's see. February 2020. February 1st. Oh, let's see. I'm slow here, but that doesn't really matter. It doesn't want to work.
You're slow now? That's out of character for you?
Yeah. No, I don't move very fast either. I've gotten really fucking fast, Parker. It's frustrating. COVID does this to you, you know?
It's funny because it's just like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. It's like stupid name, under level 100, insta-locking Asher Zofia anime profile picture.
Yeah, so this is the money that I made just straight from Siege, and it was 3.9k. And that's just like this Twitch, like subs and all that stuff. And that doesn't include donations and that it doesn't include donations, basically.
Yeah.
So I made over $4,000 in that's not actually more, but we don't have to get into exact numbers. But $4,000 and then add on. I don't know how much you make in donations because I honestly don't have the numbers on it here. That's my tax lady; she does all that for me. But I would assume maybe $1,000 in donations. So say that I made 4.5k just to make it simple. That's what I made, and I say no to making 4.5k a month because I can't take it on the mental health. It's just not enjoyable.
Yep.
And then imagine I am a small timer. I am a small timer in comparison to those other streamers.
Yeah. I mean, even Zoronic has talked about it. I think other than Macy and maybe like Varsity, I don't know another streamer who is always online other than Zoronic. Zoronic grinds some of the most hours in Rainbow Six. or his view count. And I mean, Zronik actually has it pretty good. If you're annoying, he insta bans you. Like, he does not tolerate shit. If you say one stupid thing, you're banned, like, forever. And then people
Is he live now. I would gonna go say penis in his chat. He wasn't live.
You can still type penis in his chat while he's offline, by the way. You can type penis in my chat.
Nah.
And people whine about it, and people are like, oh my god, he's so sensitive. And it's like, I appreciate now the entire chat is spamming penis. Great.
Well done, Parker.
You started this. My thing is that I ban people pretty quickly if I think you're being a weirdo, or I don't think you're fitting in, or you're here to cause problems. I don't want you here. I don't care. I don't care if that costs me money. I don't care if that costs me your respect. I don't give a shit. Goodbye. I just ban people because I don't want to deal with them.
Yeah.
There's enough annoying things in my regular life. There's enough annoying people in my regular life. I see enough garbage on Twitter and Reddit to last me the rest of my days. I don't want you in my channel. You have no right to be here. You don't have any right to be in any channel. So I understand why Zronik bans people. But that man has talked so often about how he struggles to hit the go live button, how he's so endlessly frustrated with the game. Even Macy absolutely hates being negative. He hates that he has an audience that can feed off of that negativity, and he hates feeling like he's responsible for when people get upset at things. But even he yesterday tweeted basically like, it's impossible to get to champ solo queue. Is it even an accomplishment at all? You just need to stack. And he's right.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying it for years that the system is broken, both in terms of, well, Sheathers is one part, but also that you have the same rating when you 5 stacks as you do when you solo queue. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, I've been calling for this for years. I mean, people could probably find me writing tweets about splitting up the queue since years ago. The game is going in the wrong direction. I don't think that's why a lot of the people, the old guard, is disappearing. I mean, that's why you are leaving, right? I mean, that's why you're not casting invitationals and going to Valorant full time. Oh shit, I wasn't supposed to say that, but yeah.
I literally did a stream so that people wouldn't think that, because that's not true. And now you're just going to come out and say it, and people are not going to realize you're joking.
I mean, this is what I live for, creating chaos.
Like, I want to go out on a limb here again. I already said at the start of this podcast, I said it on my own show yesterday, I'm not leaving. I think it's important that they know that. Even those people in chat are like, oh my god, he's leaving. Oh my god.
He's just leaving for a while, guys. A few years, he'll be back. I'm
not leaving at all. I honestly don't know if I'll ever cast Valorant again. It could have just been like it was supposed to be a one-off, but we got asked because there was a spot open on the Friday show.
That's how it begins.
That's how it begins, that we casted because I want to make money and wanted to cast a new game.
See, he just said it. He wants to cast another game.
Yeah, I wanted to try it. I'd like to also cast Rocket League. That'd be fun. Doesn't mean I'm leaving Rainbow. Doesn't mean I want to cast them more.
Yet.
Like, let's get back on this because we hit the 2-hour mark, and this wasn't supposed to be a long show. It was supposed to be
45 minutes of politics. That's why we messed up.
I mean, have you not watched 6 on 6? When it's just Troy and I, we just talk about random garbage. So, and you know what? It works.
Parker, do you genuinely believe that I watch your content?
No, not at all.
No, exactly.
Come
on.
Who do you think are going to make the Final Four at SI?
Oxygen is going to make top 4. BDS is going to make top 4. Team Liquid is going to make top 4. And let's see if we can find someone else that I like. I can't allow G2 to do it. I can't allow Space Station because I don't want anyone to get closer to mean amount of invitationals won. So I don't really care. I think that Oxygen, BDS, and Liquid are my favorites. FaZe might make it as well. Those are the 4 teams I think go top 4.
Wait, why not G2? The only person on it that's from the original roster that's won a hammer is Kanto, and he'd only win a second.
Yeah, but if Kanto gets 2, there's another player on 2. If SSG wins, there's players on 3 hammers, and I haven't won 3 hammers.
Bosco and Canadian would have 3.
I don't count the Xbox one. That's a meme.
He still won the hammer. I don't care if you count it. He still won it.
Yeah, that's like being a world champion in football when you play FIFA. Come on, Parker.
Also, Shaz would technically have 3 as well, but I know you don't count him as a real person.
No, he doesn't exist. I mean, if you've never been on the server, you don't count. So yeah, that's about it.
So who is your 4th? Sorry.
It's Team Oxygen or Oxygen Esports.
Mm-hmm.
It's Liquid, it's BDS, and it is FaZe.
FaZe, okay.
Those are the 4 teams I think are the best currently.
It's funny how much things have changed, because before Pengu retired, I would have easily put G2 up there. Kayak has done great. Let's be completely honest. I don't know if you've watched. Kayak is so good.
He's a very intelligent player.
He's been doing wonderful.
Been disappointed in Candor, but then again, I think that they have such a hard time with the players in their team because they have so many skilled individuals that not everyone can fit into a role, if that makes sense.
Right.
Because Candor had a rough season, but I mean that happens. He can pop off on LAN. That you never know.
You think Kanto's washed and he should retire? I got it.
You got me.
For me, the final 4, I'll agree with you on Liquid and BDS. I think that's very easy. I think that Cloud9 has the potential to make it to the top 4 as well.
Yeah, if every other team crashes their plane, perhaps.
And just because of the way they're at right now, I mean, I know OXG is going to be mad about this. I don't think that OXG is the favorite going into this. I think that TSM is going to be the favorite going in from NA, personally. I think OXG is going to have some problems on LAN. That whole Fox A always makes the quarterfinals, obviously the exception being Reciprocity last year. In one of the most puzzlingly dumb ways to go out. If you remember, they couldn't shoot the yokai drone. It was a 1v5 against BDS, and they just forgot that a yokai drone existed. I think TSM is probably the best bet. I will say that if Troy comes back super motivated, I honestly believe that SSG can make a deep run. But the question mark is Troy. The rest of that team's stats, besides Luke, were phenomenal for how poorly they performed. SSG were struggling against every team. There were a couple teams where they came real close, and 2 of those matches swing, and all of a sudden SSG's in the top 3 of NA. And they did that with Luke. And no offense to Luke, but he's not a pro league caliber player. He's certainly no Canadian. And the guidance that comes from having somebody like Troy on that roster, the guidance, the motivation, etc., is enormous. And that's not quantifiable. You're not going to see it on a scoreboard anywhere. You're not going to see it on a score sheet. You can't measure it in cost. So if Troy comes back and he's motivated and he plays well and he's not rusty and the team is able to find their groove, I do believe SSG can make a deep run. But I think right now that's too big of a question mark. I think OXG, Kino and Yaga playing on LAN is going to be an experience for them. I don't know how they're going to fare. I honestly believe that TSM is probably NA's best chance. So I'm going to go TSM, Cloud9, BDS, Team Liquid.
It's hard to judge on the NA team, seeing as they all have been playing on LAN, like the LAN build and playing on LAN the last season, right? So it's hard to say if there's going to be any difference for Kino and Yaga. It would have been a difference if there was a crowd, but I don't think that they're going to feel any difference from playing the normal stage that they've been playing now. I don't think they're going to feel any different.
Panky is in chat, by the way.
This is a while since you saw that name.
I know, it's been ages since I've talked to Panky. Like, the man who paved the way for all future Rainbow Six casters.
He is the Rainbow Six caster.
Did you say he's the Rainbow Six caster?
Yeah.
He hasn't been a caster for like 4 years.
That's the one that I watched. Everyone else since then has been crap. That's my opinion. Personal opinion and professional opinion.
Thank you.
Because that's actually the only season of Siege that I have not played. So far I've been playing in every Siege season. Even if I haven't played every stage, I've played every season.
I wish you'd stayed retired. What'd you think of Bloodbath?
Okay, Parker. But he disappeared as well. He had some questionable casting.
I will say this about Bloodbath. I never had any personal animus to him, but when he came at the casting on Twitter was when I decided to stop being nice. Like,
I didn't follow it.
When he was doing the thing where he's like, I miss it. We need to build better stories. The energy's not there. Rainbow Six casting, blah, blah. It was just like, dude, go turn those sour grapes into sour wine and fuck off. Like, I just saw that and I was like, for crying out loud. Like,
yeah, that was a bit weird.
It wasn't weird. It was just somebody who's insecure and bitter. I mean, it's pretty normal human behavior at the end of the day. But at the same time, I don't care if it's normal for him. I don't have to deal with it. So anyway, he was always a nice guy to me. He wasn't to other people. I never had any
problems with him either.
He sent some, I was told by certain members of ESL that apparently he sent some unflattering emails about like Kixnai and why we were casting certain matches over him.
No.
I don't really care.
Well, that's ego.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. You shouldn't have casted them above me, but you still did. I think I'm a better caster than you, Parker. But
people forget that we actually casted that one Challenger League thing together. And I don't think that VOD exists anymore.
Oh.
That was back in 2017. You and I casted that together. I want to say that we casted it when I was in Poland for the first time.
That's way too far back for my memory to
and remember. People were like INTERRO and Fabian casted together? I'd love to hear that. And I was like, it probably wasn't very good because, I mean, like, I was just brand new starting out, and I think I was on like a shitty quality mic or something like that. But
I mean, this is the microphone I use every day for everything I do, so
not bad.
I mean, it's not great. In comparison to a studio microphone, it's nothing, right?
There was a new patch that came out, by the way, and we are a week away from SI, and as far as I'm aware, they have not said whether the game will be played on that patch or not.
Yeah, don't worry. They'll figure that out 5 minutes before the game.
I will say this. I understand that they have production deadlines to meet in regards to new content for the whole of the game. But if this SI is going to be played on the new patch where Thermite has smokes and Ace has a Claymore and now Ace's Selmas take out Black Mirrors and Jaeger's recoil is all weird, then that's a colossal mistake. This SI should be played on the patch that all of these teams have been playing on recently.
Yeah.
You should not be introducing changes like a week before an event. It is so nonsensical.
I don't know. I always have been very open with my critique on the decisions that they make, and this is another one of those where it's just like, it's insanity in my mind, but then again, I can scream as much as I'd like. They didn't listen before, they don't listen now, and they won't listen in the future. It doesn't really matter what opinions we have on it.
Yeah. It's unfortunate because for me, it's like, I understand that esports is as much about marketing as it is about competition, right? I mean, look at Fortnite. Fortnite never, ever put competitive integrity ahead of marketing. They would literally release a broken item the morning of a tournament and put it in the tournament. These players have been grinding on a patch for a week, and then next thing you know, they add a fucking mech to the game, or they add a plane to the game, or a fucking beam sword, and it's just like, have fun playing with it. And it's like, we could go in depth about how Fortnite is not a real esport, or how battle royales as an esport are very hard to balance, and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, look at what happened. Look at what happened right now with both CSGO and Valorant. CSGO came out and announced they removed Train from the active map pool. They put, what is it, Aztec in, or Ancient, I think it's called, but I think it's actually Ancient. Aztec.
No clue.
And they said that all of the current matches that are currently ongoing would remain on the patch that has Train in it. They're not going to upheave things by putting that map in. Look at what just happened in Valorant. Breeze just came out. It's a fantastic map, in my opinion. I really like how differently it plays. It reminds me a lot of Mirage. It's fun. Valorant announced that Riot announced that they were going to be putting it in for Masters Reykjavik. But after speaking with a number of teams, they put out a press release this morning saying that after consulting with the teams, we are actually not going to put Breeze in for Masters, and Masters is going to be played under the current settings that it's currently on. Those are great steps from both Valve and the TOs and Riot and Valorant. If we go ahead by playing with Ace having Claymore and Thermite having smokes and all these other changes coming in, the Tachanka buffs, the changes to Black Mirrors and Selma interaction, the Jaeger recoil, it's just like, why are we doing this? Why are we putting in these changes so close to an event? It hurts me.
I think that the esport part of Siege doesn't have as much power over the game and the timings as the esports parts of both Counter-Strike and Valorant. One thing that I look at both Valorant and Counter-Strike and what they've done right is they built the game from the professional standpoint and down. In Counter-Strike, everyone talks about the professional scene and talks about professional games, and everyone looks up to the professional players. And there obviously is going to be the few conspiracy theorists that thinks that all professional players are cheaters. Those exist as well, but most of the time when you look at casual players in that game, they still play the same rules as every professional player does all the time. Every single competitive game is the same. We just don't have that in Siege, and I think that's a massive problem when you're splitting your fan base or like your player base completely from professional scene to casual scene and even ranked scene. It's like, why do we have 5 different game modes, or 4 different? Well, 5 if you count terrorist hunt. You have terrorist hunt, you have casual, you have unranked, you have ranked, and then you have competitive. Why? I can understand if you have a casual because Siege is like rounds take quite a while, that you have a casual. That I can understand that, but having all the other parts just isn't super smart. Like ranked should be exactly the same way as competitive. For you to not have to take a massive step, like you're actually having to step out of what you normally do to start playing competitive. Shouldn't be that way. It should just be a continuation of what you're already doing.
Yep, I agree. It's like, if you want to push esports, that's fine. I mean, even Overwatch League is remarkably casual. I would argue far more casual. Overwatch is far more casual than Rainbow Six. Yet the interest in Overwatch League as an esport is way higher than ours. They pull more views on YouTube than we do on Twitch. Now obviously people love to say, oh, well, it's because it's in the BNet launcher and they're fake views, or, oh, they pay for embedding on certain websites. How do you know we don't do that as well? It's entirely possible that we embed our streams on websites. We don't know.
Surprising.
We don't know. A lot of esports do that. They put it so it's an autoplay. Tabwire got into some trouble with this because the main guy from Tabwire who was streaming would have his stream and whoever was being hosted by the channel auto playing on the website of Tabwire. I don't know if this is still the case anymore, but there was a period of time where it was happening, and all of those people going to the website were counted as views. So this guy's streaming to like 1,200 viewers, yet his chat is dead. Nobody's talking, nobody's interacting. Well, that's because the views aren't actually for his Twitch channel. The views are the people who are on the page. Very similar as to we saw criticism for Overwatch League when they would put the Twitch stream embedded in the Overwatch client, which is Battle.net, and then people would have the BNet launcher open, and then reportedly they were counted as views. They're not actually watching, so that number's inflated. Well, same could be happening for us. We don't know, right? But they do well for viewership on YouTube. Yet this is a remarkably casual game. Big difference is that they actively promote esports in their game. It is front and center. They have an Overwatch League menu, for crying out loud. We don't have any of that. We can't even let people go back and rewatch the VODs from Pro League matches. You can't even go and download a match in your watch client. That's too much.
We have a lot to learn from, especially Counter-Strike, I would say, because it's just like there's so many things that I would like to copy and paste from Counter-Strike, but there's also things I would like to copy and paste from Dota. And Dota is the queue system and the ratings, that you have a different one for solo and you have a different one for stacking. And I would like to copy from Counter-Strike that you can actually pick which maps you're interested in playing. Sure, that will not take down the number of maps that are mostly active. That it will take away some of the outlying maps, and it will probably center more towards the competitive maps, because those are the ones that you can study when you're a casual player that wants to learn how to become a better player. You're going to study pro plays, and then you're going to copy that into ranked. But we don't have that in our game. There's just so many wrongs that I think that if we had these things, the community would not be as split as it is today.
Yeah.
Because today the casual community hates the pro community, and the pro community hates the casual community.
Yep.
Because everything is each other's fault. And then again, the pro community is correct. Everything is the casual's fault.
I think it's funny when, like, how different a view people have of this game. I mean, even now, somebody now in chat just said, you know, like, Jackal and Jaeger are not broken. Why do they keep changing them? Jackal might not be broken, but he is, at least his guns are at least in need of some nerfs, and he is frustrating to play against and not particularly fun to play as, if we're being completely honest. Jaeger isn't broken, but Jaeger has maintained a 90+% pick rate for like 2 years now. Frankly, that is unacceptable. Something needs to change. No operator should be a 90% pick rate. I would argue no operator should be above a 70% pick rate.
The only thing I'll accept being above 90 or like around 90% pick rate is your mom. Everything else you don't need to be seen as often, because it just doesn't make any sense. But that's where the disconnect comes in as well. Like, you know, they don't realize that thing, the pick percent matters. Like, they just simply look at it from, do they feel like they're an issue on their level of gameplay? Is it an issue on casual fucking copper rating? No character is actually an issue on that rating because they move like they're playing on a PS4 controller, but someone cut off their thumbs. That's how they move. That's how they play the game. That's when nothing is a problem.
I mean, I watch people play this game at a plat level and it looks like they don't have wrists, or I'll watch people play at a plat level and it looks like they don't have a brain in their head. You know, like, dude, I know that people joke about me being bad at the game, but I don't sink below gold 1. Gold 1 to plat 3 is at worst top 15 to 20% of the player base. That means that 80% of the player base is worse than I am. And that's like I said, that's charitable. And that's the worst I'll get. When I'm playing in like plat 3 and plat 2, I am still playing games with people that are randomly reinforcing the entire site and barricading all the doors. And it's just like, you're in plat 3, that's supposed to be top, what is it, like top 5-6% of the player base, and you're still like, you're barricading every door and just turtling in the site. Nobody's roaming, like none of our utility is used correctly, and it's just like, what am I, like, how do you get this high in the rankings? Which is why I keep coming back to slow the game down and introduce a little bit more recoil, because I do not believe that you should be able to climb all the way into plat with dog shit game sense and nothing but aim. I don't think that's correct. There should be some form of penalty for either movement or for aiming. And I'm aware that a lot of people really don't like that. People hate that. Whenever I introduce it, people lose their minds. But if you introduced recoil that actually required some form of recoil control, instead of the laser beams that Rainbow Six guns are right now, and you slowed the game down a bit, A, people would be a little bit more deliberate with how they move, and B, people would actually need to work on their aim and accuracy instead of just running in with an R4C that has 0 recoil and just melting everybody. It is comical how little recoil the guns in Rainbow Six have. It's so bad. We're approaching Call of Duty territory with how little recoil there is.
Something I actually haven't thought about too much, not gonna lie. I think that a lot of it's very much based on aim. I mean, I play more Valorant than I do Siege these days, and when I solo queue Valorant, it's just like the amount of time I have to play Sage entry frag because people pick Reyna and they pick Jet and then they just don't do anything.
Yep.
They just sit back. The amount of time that happens, and even on higher rating, it's just too often, and it just shows that people don't really play the game the way it's supposed to be played. It's just they play for frags. It seems to work for some it doesn't. But it's really frustrating to see that those players are climbing ratings. But maybe, I don't know, it could be that the game is played in a way, but it could also be that the rating system is incorrectly calculated, and we're giving advancements in rank and stuff like that too easy. Because in today's world, people expect instant reward, and winning 5 games shouldn't be maybe a reward to climb you up to another rank. And maybe winning 15 games shouldn't be enough to get you up to a completely different level of the game. I don't know. It's hard to say.
I like that you mentioned that, by the way, about Instapick duelists. I was playing a game of Icebox ranked the other day. I was Sage, same situation as you, because we had a Phoenix Reyna Instapick. After the first, we were defending on Icebox, a remarkably attacker favored map right now. We were defending on Icebox. And our team lineup was a Viper, Sage, Jet, Phoenix, Reyna. After the first half on defense, we emerged from the first half up 8-4. So we won defense on Icebox, which was remarkable. Our Jet and our Reyna, our Phoenix and our Reyna were like a combined 2-23. Our Phoenix died every single round. He went 0-12, and our Reyna was like 2-11. And it's just like, cool. I had 20 kills, and I think our Jet had 22 kills. We had something like 42 kills in those 12 rounds, just the two of us. And it's just like, we ended up winning 13-11, by the way. So it was by the skin of our teeth. But it's just like,
the best part is when they push in defense and then they don't push in attack. And the logic behind that I've never understood. It's like, if nothing happens on their side, they're shift walking all the way so nobody can hear them, and then they try to walk into the back lines. And then when they play attack, they just sit there and wait for someone to do exactly the same thing as them. It's like the usefulness of them is absolutely zero. I
love when like the Reyna and the Phoenix are like complaining about how we're not setting up for kills, and it's like, you are aware of like how the roles work, right? Like you are the initiators, you know, like you got your team's a Cypher, a Killjoy, and a Sage with a Reyna and a Jet. Who the fuck do you think is starting that? You and the Jet, Reyna. You and the Jet. You're the two people doing it. What do you think a Cypher, a Killjoy, and a Sage are fucking doing?
And this is the part where I think that maybe the people that think the way that we do, when we have like too much of a perfectionist view on how things should be, and it's something that's never going to be achievable because the player base, honestly, is too stupid.
I don't think they're stupid. I don't think it's intelligence. I think that they want to play a certain way. And with Rainbow Six, the best way to describe it is that one of the worst aspects of Rainbow Six is that when you do something stupid and something that shouldn't work, you very rarely are punished for it.
Yeah.
But if you look at a game like CSGO, if you look at a game like Valorant, if you look at a game like Rocket League, if you look at a game like League, if you do something so utterly wrong at a top level, you're almost never getting punished for it. Or you're almost always getting punished for it. Sorry. In Rainbow Six, and you do that, you're never getting punished for it. For whatever reason, with Rainbow Six, you do not get punished when you do dumb shit. An Ash just shoots a barricade and jumps in the middle of the site in the first 25 seconds of a round and gets the 3K. That's dumb. That's bad. But you don't get punished for it.
Well, we have introduced operators that kind of punish the game, and it kind of stops you from trying to make these random ass plays, like with all the mines and basically the trap meta and the Melusi. They've added in stuff that makes you not want to do those plays anymore anyways.
Yeah.
But at the same time, those plays also, it's not that they only stop the stupid plays, it's also that they lazy down the defense. You don't actually have to have a good defense anymore, because you're going to have something on that side of the map that just gives you away all the sound when something actually happens.
Yep.
It's like, it starts with boop, 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 and then it goes beep, 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 and then you walked into a mine and poof, and then you're whoop from the fucking it's just...
I like Flores, by the way. I don't know if you've... I
haven't played him.
He's cool.
I couldn't bother buying the fucking, what's it called? The battle pass. I just straight up didn't buy the battle pass, and I didn't get it from Ubisoft, so I don't use it.
You're not getting those active player perks I see any longer.
I'm not getting the active player perks.
We've now gone over the 2 hours that we had anticipated, and we have gone all over the place. We talked about SI. Yeah. We talked about let's do this. Look at the SI teams. What do you think? We've talked about which 4 teams you think we think are going to do well. We've talked about the safe bets to go out in groups. What team do you think is going to surprise in a good way? Who do you think the dark horses are? And which teams do you think are going to surprise in a bad way? Which team do you think is going to absolutely blow up and just flame out? And you can name one team in either way. Doesn't matter.
That's a rough question. Which team is going to blow everything up? I don't think that there's anyone that's going to, like, it's so hard to expect which team is going to surprise because you never know. I think a team that will, again, it's not really it's not really disappointing anyone. Team Empire is going to go out in groups because I don't think they've been playing well at all in this first stage. That's what I think. They're going out in groups.
I think it's also worth noting for people that are here. While the bottom two teams in each group technically go out in groups, after that it goes to the upper and lower bracket. So 3 teams will be eliminated. Wild card is already eliminated, which means that only one team will not make it out of groups in Group B. 2 will not make it out in Group A. So that might make it a little easier. What team do you think from Group B will be the sole team to not make it out? And which 2 teams from Group A do you not think will make it out as well?
Parabellum doesn't make it out, and I don't think that looking at Group A, I don't think Empire makes it out, and I do not think that Team 1 makes it out. Those are the 2 teams I think goes goodbye.
I think I would agree with you on those. I am curious as to what happens with Cyclops as well. I do not rate Cyclops very high. And I know that will probably piss off the APAC folk, but I don't have Cyclops very high up there right now. Obviously, Dizzle is probably going to take some umbrage with that. And there you go. Just like clockwork, there it is. CAG in Best of 1 should be feared. Thank you very much. I think all APAC teams in Best of 1 should be feared, by the way. But we'll see. I could be eating my words. The one thing is that this is probably the first event where we are genuinely going in with absolute no clue what the fuck is going to happen. So,
yeah, nobody knows what it's like to be the sad man.
Really? That's what you're going to say? You all sad on me again? I don't want to see you sad. I miss jousting with you on interviews and on Twitter. It bums me out.
You know, Parker, I'm not on social media because my brain is fried and I can't go to events and I can't do interviews because I'm not on a team. And we don't win matches when I am on a team, so I don't get to do interviews.
I'm aware of why you don't do it, by the way. Like, it's hard for you to do that, but I will say if you look at underperformers, Sky's shaved all of his hair off. All right. He has a buzz cut now. I guess he's ready to go to war.
Yeah, but who cares about what's on his head? It's what about is on his feet. That's what everyone cares about.
Yes. For Group A, I mean it's a heavy LATAM group. I think that Furia is also probably going to underperform. I think G2 do well. Dark Zero, I will also have. If Dark Zero's issues that they have right now with Mint not being used to its full potential and NJR still not being fully comfortable in the lineup, I think DZ might have their hands full in Group A. As for Group B, outside of Parabellum, I think Makers is a particularly weak team. I'm worried about Giants Gaming, and VP might not do well as well. Also keep in mind, there's that giant question mark of SSG. If SSG comes back and Troy is not really that into it and Troy's head and heart are elsewhere and that team is just demotivated, then I don't see SSG making a deep run. Even when SSG were real bad on their old roster, they were also still good enough for quarterfinals. They made the quarters at Raleigh. So we'll see what they do, but I'm not holding my breath for SSG. So
I wouldn't expect them to do wonders. It's just, even if they played with Troy before, games changed. If you haven't been practicing for 2 months with each other, you've been practicing with someone else, your entire playstyle changes around. It's not like you're just going to put back the puzzle piece and everything is going to be fine again.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. I hope for the best for them.
Like, imagine...
Or no, actually, I don't hope for the best. I hope they go out in groups so that they don't get... Troy doesn't get a third hammer.
Okay.
Fuck you, Troy.
By the way, Troy signed off on you coming on this show, so I'm sure he's probably very happy that you're saying these things.
I don't care what he says.
There you go.
He's coming to my continent now.
True.
But I'm not going there.
Very true. Any parting words, any parting thoughts before we wrap up? By the way, there's no real questions to ask you. I mean, they already kind of got it out at the beginning.
Not really. I mean, I told you before we started that the only thing I miss about going to events is meeting your mom. But other than that, there isn't much to talk about.
She's never even been to an event.
Yeah, you haven't been to my hotel room.
Did we ever tell them about that video that G2 wanted to shoot involving like my mom in your hotel room? Did we ever tell them about that?
I don't know if you told them about it.
I don't think we've ever told them about that. We can though.
I don't know if G2 even put out, because we did a fake version with the fake your mom, which was Charles, our camera guy.
Yeah. So basically G2 wanted to do a thing where it was like it was my mom was in your hotel room or something like that, and then like you called my mom after you qualified for SI 20. It was like 2019 or 2020. You made it out of group stages, and you were going to give her a call and be like, sweetie, like I made it. And then she's going to be like, okay, see you soon. And then there was going to be somebody like with a wig in your hotel room pretending to be her.
Yeah.
And there was some confusion as to how well it would have been received.
I don't remember what it was about.
They messaged her and asked her. They messaged her. They messaged me and asked me to ask her for permission. Obviously, I thought it was. I mean, it's weird as fuck, but I mean, like, it's funny. So
yeah.
Anyway,
message Karina and ask if they actually did anything with that footage.
They never did the part that they needed me for. I know that much. So I don't know. So but I don't think it was ever filmed. But they wanted to do it.
No, we did film it in the room. I remember.
That's terrible.
I had to be in underwear.
I hope that never sees. I hope that never sees the light of day.
Nah, I mean, it would be kind of funny. Yeah, I had to get up out of the bed where Charles was with a wig, and it was something about I was gonna say that I'll see you later, babe, when I left the room, and that it was gonna be your mom. Yeah. That was.
My mom has more followers than like a huge portion of pro players. It's just so bizarre. I mean, get it.
Your mom is a lot better than you are.
That's not what I was saying, but all right. Thank you for taking that direction. No, that's what I'm saying.
At everything. She's even a better caster than you are. No. Then again, that's not very difficult.
Appreciate how we're ending this off. So
it's hard to end on a good note with me.
Just like your career.
Yep. We're into the shits.
Just the look of sadness in your face. This is your 4th time on the show?
I have no idea.
I think this is your 4th time on the show, because we did the U event. We did You by Yourself, and then we did the major or something like that.
I mean, I only come on here because...
No, so we did You on the show. Then we did the pre-SI show before, when we thought SI was going to happen, and then it didn't. And then we did the retirement home episode, and now here you are.
Yeah. I mean, the 5k euros you pay every time I come on is good money. That's why I do it.
Yeah, you get paid $0 to be here. I actually think you might have been on... Oh no, Macy. Okay, so we did Macy. So of the last 4 episodes we've done, you've been on 3 of them.
You guys need to pump out some content. You are so lazy. Jesus Christ.
3 months ago we did
seeing you.
3 months ago we did the Six Invitational special with you on. Then we did Macy. Then we did the retirement home one with you, Shate, and Pengu. And now this one.
It's like I've been on more of them than I haven't.
Well, we've done 24 episodes, and you've been a part of 4 of those 24.
And according to my maths, 4 is more than half of 24.
Would you go to school in America?
Do they even go to school there? Can anyone even afford it? It's like, oh yeah, I want to educate myself to, I don't know, flip burgers at McDonald's. Yeah, that's 5 years education, and you're going to be in debt for 1,500 years.
I feel like we dunked on I feel like we dunked on America enough, so this is the perfect time for us to sign off now. Just for everybody that made it this far, as always, thank you very much. It's greatly appreciated. The plan was to do more of these, but then some things got thrown in that we weren't anticipating. So apologies to all the people that wanted more content. Both NA League and Troy coming out of retirement kind of threw a wrench in that. But as always, immense thanks to our guests. Fabian, I always appreciate talking to you, always. Even though we joust and go off and all that stuff, it is always nice to have you here. And I know the people as well appreciate it a ton. So thank you.
Just happy I can help.
And help you did, if that's what we can call it. Anyway, Six Invitational starts next week in exactly a week's time. So safe to say, there will not be a 6-on-6 between now and the end of Six Invitational. The goal will be to bring it back the week after that. So stay tuned. Thank you to everybody for watching. Likes, subscribes, shares, all that stuff really helps us out. Enjoy the rest of your day, evening, and we'll see you in a week for the biggest event of the year. Have a great night.
Bye.